Steel Panther and Buck Cherry present the Northern Exposure Tour. She's got the eyes on April 29th, 7:30 p.m. Connexus Arts Center. Hey, y'all crazy bitch, but Steel Panther and Buck Cherry. 1987. On sale now at connexusartscenter.ca. Don't miss Steel Panther and Buck Cherry together live. See you at the center.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sportscage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Regina Motor Products, proudly serving Saskatchewan for over 70 years. Visit rnpchevrolet.com today. Be part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The Sportscage, streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
For the past month, it's been a bit of a wild ride if you're a Calgary Flames fan, flirting with making the playoffs in a year that most thought would be just a rebuild. You'd win the hard games and then lose the easy ones. And just when everybody was ready to count you out in the middle of the ring, 1, 2, 3, you'd kick out. Keep those faint playoff hopes alive. You do this again and again and again, but it seems like last week there were 2 goals in 8 seconds in that game against Anaheim that would come back to haunt you because that point was crucial. And although you beat Vegas last night, St. Louis and Minnesota also won, finally putting a pin in the balloon that was the 2024-2025 Calgary Flames team. All sorts of heart, determination, squeezing every last ounce of talent out of a roster that isn't naturally stacked with talent. Now that you've come up short, you've got yourself trapped in the murky middle. You lost a high draft pick to Montreal in the Sean Monahan trade. You're not going to pick high in the NHL draft. Flames fans, was it worth it? Would you do it again? I think for most Flames fans, they'd say yes, because instead of being out of it in early January, they're in it till 9 o'clock last night, April the 15th. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Sports Cage. It's Maz and voice of the Riders, Dave Thomas, in for Barney today. We're on the radio for the next 3 hours at 620 CKRM and streaming on X and our YouTube channel at sportscage.com. And the show is brought to you by Regina Motor Products. If you've got dents or dings, you can visit RMP SGI accredited full-service collision center and body shop. Regina Motor Products, book today. Dave, if you're a Flames fan, knowing what you know now, would you do it again? Or would you much rather they tanked all year to try and get a high draft pick?
Boy, I tell you, that's a tough one that I was thinking about last night when I was watching the game, because I'll be the first one. Remember when we talked with Eric Francis all the way back in September, and I asked whether or not they would consider moving Nazem Kadri or Jonathan Huberdeau this year? And he was like, well, nothing's off the table, but I don't think they're going to be that bad. And boy, he was bang on in that assessment. So the question in my mind is, how does this team take the next step? And the next step is going to probably be somewhere in free agency because the cap is going up. And then when you talk about that draft capital, it's lacking. And again, yeah, they missed an opportunity to get a high draft pick. So I think if you're a Flames fan, you're happy with the trend that the team went on this year, but they need to continue to trend up next year. And I'm not sure how sustainable that's going to be without draft picks and building that way, because I'm not sure what's down on the farm.
They don't have a natural superstar like a lot of teams, because they just have never drafted high enough in all of their years. And to me, they've fired a million coaches, but they've never gotten rid of, is it Todd Button? Who's the guy on TSN? It's his brother that's been there for 20 years. Whoever's been in charge of the draft. And that's one of the guys, you fired 9 or 10 coaches. They don't hit home runs like Dallas does with late round draft picks, or like Detroit did for so many years, or like Tampa Bay does, and then have a great farm system. So I don't know, but you mentioned Nazem Kadri. He had a career high in goals, 33. There's teams that could use 33 goals. Trade him while he has value. Rasmus Anderson, the big question, do you re-sign him when he comes up for 8 years, or while he's got capital, do you get rid of him? Because the Flames, if anything, have been guilty of hanging on to guys for too long. Jerome McGinley being the prime example, and then really not getting anything for them. Nothing you can do about the Huberdeau contract. And another name that came up is Blake Coleman. So we'll get Eric's take after 4 o'clock when we go inside the NHL, but I know I heard him say that he's very optimistic after this season for what they were able to accomplish. Basically taking a roster of a few names, some no names, and some AHL guys and getting pretty close to making the playoffs.
Very true. Plus a good goaltender that emerged out of the pile, right? Because you knew that Dustin Wolf could do it in the American Hockey League. There were many detractors that said his game would not be sustainable in the NHL, and he proved a lot of people wrong in conversation for the Rookie of the Year, right?
Yeah. One of the questions is, who will be Dustin Wolf's backup next year? Dan Vladar is going to be a free agent. Eric said like a month ago he would re-sign him to give Wolf some stability, or do you go somewhere else and try and trade Vladar's rights if somebody deems those rights worthy? I don't know, but they're going to need it. The average goalie, number one goalie in the NHL now, plays about 60 to 65 games, so you need a solid number two, and whoever that's going to be is going to need to be able to come in and win some games. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, it's great now, but once the draft rolls around and you're going to see some teams, I always look when the Colorado Avalanche had that 1 year dip when they had the mini tank and they got Cale Makar, and then they popped right back up again. That's what I was kind of thinking for the Flames this year. Just do like a mini dip, and then you've got all this cap space. You could get yourself right back in there fast, because you think, how did the Avalanche end up with a Cale Makar? They had a bad year, and then they bounce right back, and here they are, ready to roll in the playoffs. Our Twitter poll question today, because now everything is about the playoffs, which you're going to kick off this weekend. The Leafs and the Senators, this is a crazy stat, Dave. The Leafs and the Senators are going to battle in round one of the playoffs. This is going to be their first playoff meeting in over 7,600 days. And I'm like, really? It's been that long? So who wins the Battle of Ontario? Leafs or Senators? You can vote now by going to our X account at Sportscage. I think the wild card factor in this is Brady Tkachuk. Is he going to play, and how much? And will he be calm and cool, Brady Tkachuk, and just be a good agitator, or is he going to be trying to fight 3 times a game in the first couple of games and just totally get himself off his game?
I just want to know in Toronto, how are the core four going to perform in the playoffs when it matters, right? Mitch Marner, this is a big postseason for him, right? His contract is up at the end of the campaign. He did well in the Four Nations Cup. I know that if you talk to Toronto media type, he was the superstar, but I don't know. Mitch Marner has to show up. He needs to get some help from William Nylander, who I think has struggled in the postseason. You've got Austin Matthews, who does what Austin Matthews does, and then you've got a supporting cast. I'll be interested to see and whether or not their goaltenders can stay healthy. I don't think the Leafs are going to have much of a problem, in my humble opinion, getting by Ottawa in the opening round, but can they sustain that through 4 rounds of the playoffs or even into the second round? That's going to be the big question.
I would love to know what's medically wrong with Austin Matthews. Last year, he had almost 70 goals. This year, 30. He just doesn't look right. The shot doesn't look right. He's not the same guy. He's played through it, and nobody will say anything. But there's something off with him. We do have a busy show today. Lots to get to. Farhan Lalji will join us just after 5. We'll get his take. The Canucks, they're a mess. And going into this offseason, if you're Rick Tocchet, I wouldn't blame him if he says, thanks. I'll go to Philly and deal with that disaster. Because at least he kind of knows the disaster he's getting himself into. Or at least I think he does.
Well, being a Canucks fan, the number one question that I've got is there any value in Thatcher Demko, and do you move him now? Because the guy just can't stay healthy. And again, that's not a knock or a slight on him. It's just bad luck. And he's a Vezina caliber goaltender that you'd think somebody would want Hello Chicago. So it'd be very curious to see if there's anything that can happen there, as now they've signed his backup to a long-term deal.
Yeah, so the club has the option to extend Tocchet, whether he decides to accept it or decline it. A lot of people are saying it's 50-50. I was listening to the Cam and Strick podcast earlier today, and Andy Strickland, who's part of the Blues broadcast crew, and he's pretty connected. He thinks it's 50-50 at best if he comes back. There's just so much dysfunction. And even through all of that, what he was able to get results-wise with everything going on behind the scenes, that to me is incredible. As mentioned, Eric Francis will join us just after 4. But in a couple of minutes here, CFL legend Charleston Hughes is going to join the show. As always, with a new CFL commissioner, I would love to know, from Charleston's point of view, as someone who played the game, what he'd like to see from the new commissioner. Because obviously his list of needs would probably be, as a fan, I only know certain things to ask for. But as a former player who's been through some different commissioners, all right, Charleston, so what's on your hit list and what do you want? We'll do that next. We'll try and connect with Charleston. Time for our first break. This is the Sports Cage. We're streaming on X and on our YouTube channel at sportscage.com and on the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the CFL, 620 CKRM.
620 CKRM is your home to country's greatest hits and the 90s at 9. 1 full hour featuring the biggest hits of the 90s. Garth, Reba, Alan, Shania, George, and so much more. No cassette tape or CDs required, and 90s mullets are optional. 90s at 9 for the town of Wolseley and the voice of Saskatchewan. 620 CKRM.
Louis Dreyfus Yorkton, expanding to meet the canola needs of tomorrow. Once again, canola markets have been tossed into uncertain territory, but know that LDC is here for the long haul. The nearby months are filling fast, so call Louis Dreyfus today and ask about our very competitive basis levels and lock your canola in before space is gone. Canola delivery Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. LDC Yorkton, a name you know, a name you can trust. 1-877-782-8882 or ldcyorkton.com.
Are you ready for your garage packages? Freeze Tallman can help. When choosing your building materials, go for a local family-run Saskatchewan business instead of those other guys. They offer a variety of garage packages that suit your needs and fully customizable. Support the folks who keep it close to home. They can even install it for you, now taking bookings. When planning your next building project, think Freeze Tallman. Freeze Tallman, let's get you building.
Come join an unforgettable evening at the Regina Red Sox Dinner and Auction on Saturday, April 26th at the Turvey Center. This year's special guest will be Saskatchewan Roughriders head coach Corey Mace and offensive coordinator Mark Mueller. Pre-dinner drinks will start at 6 p.m. and dinners at 7. And don't forget the live and silent auction. Tickets are available at reginaredsox.com. Get your tickets now for the Regina Red Sox Dinner and Auction Saturday, April 26th. And support Regina Red Sox baseball. Presented by Dusick and Barlow Insurance at SGI Canada. Play ball!
The Sask Elks Trucks and Bucks Lottery is back with up to $100,000 in great prizes. Proceeds help support the Jim Pattison Children's Hospital. Get your tickets at trucksandbucks.ca. Lottery license number LR240147.
Sportscage is live streaming from our Century Studios in downtown Regina. Watch now at sportscage.com and our YouTube channel. Be part of the show by texting 306-936-6262. 620 CKRM.
With the NHL playoffs starting this weekend, don't forget the Keniston Super Draft is back for the Stanley Cup playoffs. There's over $80,000 in prize money to be won. All you've got to do is select 32 players. It's $40 an entry, or it gets even better. 3 entries for $100 or 7 entries for $200. They've also got the Super 8 add-on with a chance to win $10,000. You just need to go to superdraft.com. Sports Cage on a Wednesday. It's Maz and voice of the Riders, Dave Thomas, filling in for Barney today. And let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. He's our favorite guest. With the CFL announcing a new commissioner a couple of weeks ago, he's the most connected man in the CFL, as we've come to know. He could be the assistant commissioner of the CFL. Let's say hi to Charleston Hughes. Where's Charleston? We're bringing him in. There's our guy. Like, is there anything you want to tell us? Are you and Stuart Johnston teaming up to take over the CFL? So where are you on this whole new commissioner thing?
I don't know, man. No, I don't know Stuart Johnson one bit. I can't say that, but the thing is he got a good resume. So as far as ideal guy for the job and having a better connection with TSN, I mean, he sounds like the guy to do it, right?
So, Charleston, if everyone had an opportunity to be the commissioner for a day, we'd all do something different. So you've just been handed the keys to the Canadian Football League. What are you doing as commissioner on day number 1?
Ooh, day number 1. First of all, you got to build a plan. You got to build a plan for the future. And you got to give some, insight to that plan to make sure that, everybody's excited about football again and excited about, going to CFL games in the stadium and actually rooting for players and just, laying out the platform for that plan. That's what it's really about, getting with every team and just laying down a plan of what the future looks like.
I know one thing that Charleston would do. If anybody didn't register double-digit sacks in a season, nobody would get the award for having being the top defensive sack guy. Like you said, single-digit sacks do not win the award at the end of the year, right, Charleston?
Single-digit sacks do not win awards, man. You got to get that stuff out of here. If there's a single-digit sack season, that means no defensive lineman gets all-star. Just give it to linebackers.
See, I told you.
or defensive backs.
Charleston, I had said my big thing is I love how they shoot the playoff games in the Grey Cup. And everybody says, oh, TSN, they got to put extra money into that. And I say, oh, okay, you've only got one product, 4 games a week. Make it look as good as you possibly can. And we chatted about that with Glenn Suter, and he said at some of their internal meetings, they've talked about how they can make those regular season games look like playoff games. Do you like how the playoffs in Grey Cup are shot compared to the regular season?
Yeah, I do, man. There's more action. There's more in-depth, camera angles, and they really get in-depth to players and interviews. And, there's a lot of different angles that they take during Grey Cup that they don't take during the regular season. So the thing is you should publicize the game like that. You should put the game in media. You should interview players more. You should do more, quick takes of, getting to know players and getting to know coaches and making the game more exciting. And the only way you do that is by, putting money into it. I don't know what the actual budget looks like, for stuff like that, but you gotta use as much of the budget as you can in marketing.
So as a player in a locker room, are you talking about the exposure that the game gets? Is that one of the topics that's, I guess, front and center when you're talking about growing the league and something you want to see done more?
You got to see that done more, man. Every single season for 14 seasons, I've heard every single commissioner talk about growing the league and making the league, better. And it's almost like the presidential election. Like, how many of them actually did something to grow the league? Like you just go down the list of things. Like, how many things did they do throughout that season or that, time frame that they were commissioner for the league? How many of them actually grew the game? Now, doing the global thing, I think that was one thing that did grow the game into an international market, an international level. That was a great thing that actually happened for us. But how much revenue that we gain from that when it comes to broadcasting and things of that nature, I don't know. I mean, but substantially, it should have boosted us a little bit. So what carried on after that? And you want to keep building off of, growth like that. But I didn't see no growth after that. It was like we did it, we collected the money, and then we stayed stagnant all the way through.
I'd agree with you. It's like anything. All governments, hey, we're going to help education and healthcare. In the CFL, it's, yeah, we're going to grow the game, and then what do you do? It's great when you say it because then it sounds like we're actually doing something. My whole thing is that I get that there's the fans, the new ones that you're trying to reach, but don't forget about the people that have been loyal for a really long time. Treat us well. You know what? Make it as good of an experience as possible. So this is where I want to go to. Did you play with Jay McNeil when you were with the Stamps?
I did, yeah.
Okay,
I didn't
so Jay
play with him, but I knew of him.
Okay, so Jay has cooked up the Stampede Bowl. Bombers, Stamps, day before Stampede. There's a fake trophy, and Brett Michaels from the hair metal band Poison's going to play the halftime show, and they're going to try and make this thing. Whether it works or not, I applaud the creativity. I don't know if that's going to get any extra fans to McMahon Stadium, but at least he's trying to do something.
That is the best thing I've seen happen to Calgary in all of my 10 years of being there, besides us winning the Grey Cup twice. But
hey now, come on, hey now.
I got to back it up. So besides us winning the Grey Cup twice, that was the best thing I've seen happen for the organization as far as just trying to keep people engaged in the game, although they had, bad luck, these past couple seasons, and there's been some real low points, as far as the team goes. This gives a boost for next year. And you kind of want to see that same thing carry on for the rest of the season, where I think he took a page out of BC Lions' book where, they're making all their games super exciting right now. It's engaging for the young crowd, is what everybody needs to start attacking, is the young people. You want to get as much of the young crowd as you can. And, the BC Lions did an excellent job of that, these last, 2 or 3 years, is going after the impact in the young crowd, making it into a concert, making the games exciting. Some of the most exciting games that I've been to personally was lacrosse games. And that's because they play music pretty much all the way through the game. So it's like exciting to go to those games, right? So you got to kind of take that same aspect and turn it into football and go, let's play more music throughout the game. Let's really make it into somewhat of a party, but still family oriented.
I never really thought of Charleston Hughes as a Poison guy, but hey, I guess anything's possible in this world now. Having said that, though, you did mention growth, right? So what is the definition of growth in the CFL? Is it full stadiums? Is it 14 franchises? Is it television viewership? What's the best growth that you could see happening?
The best growth that you could see happening is monetization, really. Making sure that everybody in the league is monetizing. And that's when you see the most growth, when you see everyone from players all the way up to the tippity top. Everybody's monetizing, and growth is happening every single year. That's the only way you can really tell growth, really, is by that. I mean, marketing, you want to see the team market players better. You want to see teams, market events just like, Calgary just did. But monetization is what shows growth.
As someone who, your Calgary experience, that's when you could draw good crowds, and it's fallen off. And then you come to Rider Nation where it's crazy. Do players not go out in public enough? Because here, if a rider goes to an autograph signing or is going to be at a car dealership or something, it draws a crowd. Blanket league-wide, are they just not doing enough of that where they're trying to actually get the players in front of people, potentially fans?
I mean, everywhere I've been, every team really does a good job of getting the players in front of people. It's just about marketing the right players. There's specific players that go out and they do community events all the time, and they're the face of the franchise. But everybody knows in the CFL that quarterbacks are the face of every single franchise. So those are the guys who are front and center and and out in the community doing stuff. But you got to spread it out throughout the team. And I know Saskatchewan, they've always done a good job of making sure that they spread it out, so every player on the team has their opportunity to go do community service. When I was in Calgary, it was the same way. They did a good job of making sure all players, had the opportunity to go out and do some form of community service and, give back to the community. So that's kind of a big part of that whole, monetizing situation too, is making sure that, players give back to the community, take care of the fans, make sure they always thank the fans when they're there at those, events. And that's their way of saying thank you for coming to our games. And
Okay, so I
us,
gave
really.
you – yeah. I gave you the commissioner's job earlier, and you're still in the planning stages on day number 1. So now I'm going to give you the role of event planner. How about Charleston Hughes presents the Saskatchewan Celebration, where you do whatever you want to draw fans into a building? What is a part of that celebration of the game?
That part of that celebration would be every single sack that happens, we're throwing Super Soaker water guns into the stadium. We're giving out surfboard. We're giving out surfboards, to fans on a 50-50 lottery draw.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love to see drunken Rider fans carrying a surfboard around Mosaic Stadium or whatever, and not be running into people, causing problems. Call the medical staff over.
We gotta start campaigning for that already.
The Charleston Hughes
swords, giving out.
Nice. So a month from today, it'll be day 5 of training camp. Now, as a player, forget year 1 because you don't know, but from year 2 on, where are you mindset-wise on day 5? Or have you shown your best yet? Are you ramping up? Are you now kind of taking it down? Like, where are you? Because you're not going all out day 1, first practice, whatever, all that. It's a game, right? It's a struggle. It's 2 weeks. So where were you on about day 5 of training camp?
I'm a little bit different than most, man. I come out of the gate just flying all over the place. And I'm like that consistently for about at least the first 3 to 5 days, where I'm running around, I'm full speed, I'm looking to embarrass every offensive lineman I line up against. I'm trying to establish myself as I'm that guy on this team. And that's the only way you can go at it every single training camp, is to go into training camp, pardon my French, but kicking ass.
Nice. Well, no, I always wonder about that strategy, because some people are maybe trying to play the long game, but you don't have a long time in the CFL. So from the start, if you do your best work early, they may say, okay, you're good. All right, now we're going to give someone else a look. So you were from the very first practice, it was on. There's no half speed.
Yeah, that was just personally how I like to go into training camp, because I like to go into training camp in shape and ready to go, where some guys like to go into training camp and kind of build up to be, by the time you're out of training camp, then you're at your peak. I like to come in at my peak, show all the coaches where I am, physically and talent-wise, and then I dwindle it down and then coast the rest of the camp and get ready for the season after that.
Did your preparation change for training camp over the years then? Like the way that you would approach your off season, so on and so forth?
Never. I approached every training camp the same way, where I went in to dominate every single player that I played against, every single player that I lined up across from. I lined up to dominate and show them who I was or the type of player that I am at that time.
Did that ever piss guys off?
The AJ Ouellette?
No, man, I would never do that.
But if you're coming out screaming from the start, does that piss other guys off, like on offense, to be like, hey, man, we're just getting into this. Like, hey, we're, to be like, because some guys don't like that. Nobody wants that guy who's a hardo. Like if you're playing beer league hockey late at night, that is like, up and down or whatever. But I guess this is how you're going to make your living. But there's got to be guys like, was anybody chirping in your ear to hey, Charleston, lay off?
Yeah, I mean, you hear it from time to time, and guys do say that. A lot of times, if it's a veteran player, like veteran against veteran player, I won't go like balls to the wall and go 100 miles an hour like that. I would kind of tone it down a little bit, just because I know that we need those guys for the season. But if it was a rookie, it's lights out.
So we hear of the unwritten code in hockey, right? Like there's things that veterans don't do to other veterans. Same thing in football?
Oh yeah, it's the same thing in football, man. If somebody like Dan Clark told me, "Hey man, hey bro, chill out when you coming at me," and I'll tone it down when I'm coming at Dan Clark, and I'll just throw a move and try to beat him. And if he grabbed me, I'll shut it down. But if it was like a rookie or somebody like Furlan Logan that was right there, who was more of a younger guy when I played him, oh, I'm going straight at him, and he got to try his best.
Everybody on paper is talking about how the Riders in the offseason and Jeremy O'Day and the staff have been able to fill the holes and try and, work on the weaknesses from last season. And one of the guys we talked about, and you gave him the nickname and it'll stick forever, Roland Mulligan. And we talk about that defense this year. Do they, because of all that experience, need to come out of the gates like flying, like game one, and just it's got to be dominant from the start if they're making the Grey Cup and getting that home game for the West Final?
You got to, man. You got to start fast, man. I've always told Mace that even before he started coaching, in Saskatchewan, is like a lot of these teams that I've went to, kind of on the back end of my career, they kind of like started tailoring the game and making the game real soft and massaging the game for a lot of these young players that are coming into the league. And I was like, man, it's just like the whole atmosphere is just not what it used to be, where I was like, we got to get back into that mode where we come to practice and the best guys play. And on top of that, you got to practice hard every single day. And if you don't come to practice and make practice harder than the game, then you're kind of doing it wrong as a coach. I was like, man, you got to make practice harder than the game, so when you go into the game, it feels like practice.
Before you were Charleston Hughes, right? The CFL veteran, the guy that comes out and has the motor running 100 miles an hour every single rep. When you're entering the league, you've got basically 10 days, right, to make an impression that you should be on the roster. How difficult is that for a young player coming in? And what was your mindset knowing that you had that limited time to audition?
Yeah, man, it's hard as a young player, man, because you're competing not only against, the talent of other players that are coming in with you, you're competing against the ratio. So yeah, it's even harder for an American player, depending on the ratio, and even for Canadians. Like sometimes that ratio plays a part in the Canadian position too, especially at receiver. So the thing is that you got to put your best foot forward every single play. I mean, I was cut my first year. So
I know that's a great story. And Randy Chevrier, when he said he went and talked to the coach, you need to bring that guy back. You bring that. What was his name?
Man,
I
was sent home, man. It was crazy, and I didn't even believe it. I was like, man, I thought I was the best player, the best option here, but I sucked at special teams. So it was like I got cut for a special teams player at the time. So I mean, but that's the name of the game. Because I was a good football player, they decided to lean towards the guy that was a better special teams player than a football player, because they thought they could teach somebody how to play football. But I was like, man, just teach me how to play special teams and I can do it. I never played special teams. So it was one of those kind of situations, and I won't be the first or the last to run through that kind of situation.
So your former teammate, Bo Levi Mitchell, said on social media that he thinks if Hamilton wins the Grey Cup this year, that he'll pack it in and retire. You know Bo better than Dave or I. When Bo says that, is Bo looking for clicks and likes, or if they do win the championship, is he done?
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I heard John Bowman say that about 6 times, and he stuck around for like 6 years. Hey, I was waiting on John Bowman to finish up so I could pass him in sacks, and he still stuck around for like another 5-6 years.
Oh. Well, Bo's a gunslinger, and if he has a great year and they end up winning the Grey Cup, why wouldn't he think he could come back and keep doing it again? Because like he's healthy. He for the most part, he's not a guy that's taken unnecessary hits. He's got a quick release. The game probably is slowed down to such a level for him where there's probably nothing he hasn't seen before. I mean, would be his.
That could be the thing. That could be the thing, though. What's his motivation?
Well, I'll ask you. You won 2 Grey Cups. Do they pay you enough to ride off in the sunset with that Grey Cup game check after winning the whole thing, or do you got to keep working?
I don't know, man. I'm a little bit different than a quarterback, man. You know, quarterbacks, they're on a different pay scale than a player like me would. So it's like, what's his motivation to play? How much more can they pay him to come back? He say he might not come back, but if they say, hey, we'll pay you $2 million to come back next year, I bet he rethinks that.
Hey, keep in mind that Bo Levi Mitchell is 3 years younger than Trevor Harris. But having said that, though, if you win the Grey Cup, is it harder to contemplate retirement? I know you have to listen to your body at some point, right? Father Time doesn't lose any battles. But if you win the Grey Cup, aren't your competitive juices going, oh, let's do this again? Or is it easier to walk away? I have no idea.
I don't know. Henry Burris did it. He walked away after he won that Grey Cup in Ottawa. He didn't touch the field no more after that. A lot of the times, those guys it just depends on, I wouldn't say those guys, but for any player, it just depends on what's your continuous motivation, after you win a Grey Cup like that. Is it to break more personal records? Is it more personal goals? Maybe he's checked off all of his personal goals and he has nothing else to prove. So your motivation to play kind of, diminishes really.
Well, on the Bo front, and then I want to ask you about this NIL stuff. Since Boveralls are a thing, has Bo sent you a pair of Boveralls? And are you wearing them in Texas, proudly supporting the CFL game south of the 49th?
If Bo send me a pair of Boveralls, I'll wear them 100%. And I am 100% all for that, because that is pretty funny that even became a thing. But I like it. But that was more marketing stuff that the team just built it on. And hey, that was a good idea, and it's holding on strong. I like it though.
So the big story coming out of college football earlier this week, that Nico Iamaleava, the ex-quarterback of the Tennessee Volunteers, was getting $2.4 million per year with his NIL deal and wanted to renegotiate, or he would go into the transfer portal for $4 million. A few weeks ago when you were on, you said you were taking your daughter to an evaluation camp. She's thinking about colleges. We were asking about NIL money and all of that. Could Charleston Hughes have handled getting paid $2.4 million a year when you were younger, when you were playing college football? How crazy would your life have been with that amount of money at age 20?
I'm actually staying in school. If I'm getting paid that much money, I'm staying in school for as many years as I can stay and play football. I'll probably take 2 injury red shirts just to stay back in school and get the whole 7 years, $2 million every single year, and then I'll come out and go to the NFL.
Did he overplay his hand and get some bad advice? Because now he's basically begging for a team to pick him up, and he's never going to get that kind of money from anybody else.
Yeah, I think he overplayed his hand, man. He should have just played his role, just been the player that he was. And whether he goes back to school or not, I don't think it really matters, but I think he just needs to, focus on his game. Because he was a good quarterback, but was he the best quarterback out there? No. Not really. Yeah.
No.
What does that dynamic in the locker room all of a sudden look like, though? Because you've been in a professional locker room, and I'm assuming that, most guys know what each guy makes, and you're all competitive in nature. So what does that kind of do to the rest of the locker room? He wants $4 million?
I mean, if he can get it, he can get it. But the thing is the dynamic of the locker room doesn't change, because there's more players that are just as hungry, ready to play right behind you. And that transfer portal just kind of screws everything up for everybody. So, man, if I was a coach and a player like that, threatened my team and the success of my team, thinking that he was that good, I would go to the transfer portal and bring somebody else in that was just as good or even close to his caliber and say, okay, you leave, but you come back, you're gonna be splitting time or something.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I would never put myself in a position where the inmates are running the asylum. Just put it like that.
Yeah, no. I thought Josh Heupel handled it awesome because he didn't show up for the spring game last week, and he said no one's bigger than the team, no one's bigger than the tea, the orange tea for Tennessee, and it was like boom and done. So now USC has turned him down, or no, was it USC? Yeah, no, it wasn't USC. It was Cal, I think, and Tulane. Like now he's shopping around, but people are saying stay away from him. Yeah, well, UCLA, Tulane, North Carolina. There's no way he could end up with Belichick. Like I could you imagine? Within
no, man.
5
Belichick needs
Yeah, that's crazy. Hey, have you ever if Huff cut you all those years ago and then you went on to have a stellar career? I don't want to quote stats from Wikipedia because it's wrong, but it's up there. You're one of the best. Have you ever said to Huff, "What were you thinking? You knew I was great. Why'd you cut me? Look what you could have missed out on."
He actually told me. He told me it was a numbers game and they had to pick up the space somewhere. And he told me that we had a more emphasis on special teams than we did as a player on the football field. So we went for special teams, and he was like, "But we made a bad decision at that point." So he told me he made a bad choice.
Wow,
which
awesome.
I mean, kudos to him, man. That's why he was one of the greatest coaches that I've had, and I had the experience of being around. He tailored the game to me. He tailored to the way I played. And although he dealt with a lot, dealing with me as a player, but the thing is I got a lot of respect for him and the man that he was as a coach.
All right, Charleston Hughes, we won't make you get out of your vehicle to see if you're carrying a surfboard on the roof rack of your car, because maybe that's still your signature move. But we will get in touch with the Rider store to see if they are bringing in surfboards this season, and maybe we, surfboard night or whatever you called it. What was it going to be? Charleston Hughes night, Surf Mania, Surf City,
Surf Night, Surf Night. Saskatchewan Surf Sack Night.
Be a wild night in Wascana that night, I'll tell you right now.
Yeah,
there you go, waves in Wascana.
Waves of, oh my God! Now this is getting out of control. We'll let your marketing people talk to Dave's marketing people, and maybe you guys can find some synergies there. I'll wait till I get my personal invite to come to that. And we can make sure the limo picks up everybody at the airport when the private jet lands in YQR.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
Shaped like
He's Charleston Hughes on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. That's why he's our favorite guest on the show. All right, Charleston, we'll catch up in a couple of weeks. We always appreciate when you come on. Have a great afternoon. This was awesome. Look forward to doing it again. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Western Hockey League, the playoffs continue. Round 2, 3 games tonight. We'll dive into that next. It's the Sportscage, streaming 620CKRM.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
The Keniston Super Draft is back with the 2025 NHL Playoff Draft. Over $80,000, over 200 cash winners, and 3 ways to win. With more Canadian teams than we've seen in the postseason in a while, will you be elbows up and riding one of those teams? There are a number of ways to get in on the action. 1 entry for $40, or go in with some buddies and get 7 entries for just $200. And the Super 8 add-on is back for even more playoff fun. The Keniston Super Draft, sponsored by the Keniston Lions. Deadline is Tuesday, April 22nd, 6 p.m. Central Time. Superdraft.com.
The Sask Sport Athlete of the Month Award celebrates outstanding performances in a given month by a Saskatchewan athlete or team. Recent Athlete of the Month recipients include Jonathan Podbielski, who accumulated 5 gold medals across 3 events in February. After being handed an All-Star Award for her part in Canada claiming gold at the 2025 IIHF U18 Women's World Championship, striker Zablocki earned January Athlete of the Month honors. And in December, Paris swimmer Hannah Ouellette set a new Canadian record in the S5 50-meter backstroke event and claimed 5 medals at the Ken Demchuk International Invitational. Learn more about each of the recipients and how to nominate an athlete or team in your community at sasksport.ca. Sask Sports Athlete of the Month program is supported by Sask Lotteries, the main fundraiser for more than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation organizations.
Howdy, Wood Country Woody again. You know, you and me ain't so different. We both love to sit on a sunny deck with a cool beverage instead of sanding the thing all the time. And when I heard TimberTech composite decking material is super low maintenance, well, that sold me right there. They didn't even need to mention that it features a sweet little hidden fastener system or that they also have the treated lumber that goes underneath. It's easy, it's pretty, it's TimberTech from Wood Country.
Your home is your castle.
In McLean, Estevan, and Tisdale, wood-country.com.
Text CKRM 306-936-6262. Powered by Prairie Land Rentals. They've got everything you need for your projects. 600 Albert Street. PrairieLandRental.com. Saskatchewan, it's time to talk sports. Sportscage is on the air. Be part of the show. Call 936-6262 or toll free 1-866-767-0620. And we're always online at sportscage.com. 620 CKRM.
Thanks for being part of the show today. The Sports Cage is for Regina Motor Products. If you've got dents or dings, you can visit the RMP SGI accredited full-service collision center and body shop. Regina Motor Products book today. I love when we have Charleston on. Like, it's never a dull moment. Like, he's got stories for days. He's a big personality, and it's funny, Dave. And you know this because you've been around this league for a long time. Big personalities like him help sell the game. Who is a big personality in the CFL? We're not going to get all Ed Hervey here, but who are the big personalities? Bo would be one, I would think. Okay.
Yeah.
But beyond him, is there a steep drop off? I would say yes. Okay. So how do you change that if you're the new commish? Somebody had said the most popular thing about the CFL is the food drive that they do with Purolator. Oh, that was Randy Chevrier. And he thinks that's great. It's a great initiative. But if that's the most popular thing about the league, you haven't done a good job marketing the stars.
Yeah, you know what? And I would submit that it's probably getting a little bit better. But yeah, no, you're right. The athletes are what will draw fans in, right? Like, no matter... End of the day, winning is the biggest marketing tool, but then obviously the personalities that allow those victories to occur, right? So I agree, but I wouldn't say that there's a huge steep drop off between personalities.
I was going to say there was a very big personality that just came to the league and was making a big name for himself as a rookie, but unfortunately he's going to the Colts now. Joe. I love seeing a lot of his stuff on CFL, especially when they sent him out to BC during the Grey Cup and all that jazz. It's kind of fun to watch him.
And when he was, I think that was great when they stood. Yeah,
like he was amazing at the Winter Classic hockey game and his interaction with the fans and just bringing, like you say, that personality. He's a character, and that's a good thing.
And that. Unfortunately, and let's hope it all works out in the NFL for him, because that would be great, because that's life changing. But just that, but more of it. Like each team, and maybe that's a team thing to be like, all right, you pick your horses basically, and you do. Like if I am, let's say I'm Roland Milligan's agent and I want to try and blow this thing up. He's done everything on the field, so everybody knows who he is for there. All right, and someone says, and this is where the PR firms and the agents come in. This is where you're seeing a lot of the American situation going, okay, we're going to build up your social profile. So everybody's going to know who you are on TikTok and on Instagram and on Facebook. You're going to make the reels and all that, and you get to start building this persona outside of football. And that's where, maybe the extra endorsement deals come and all of that. And the league goes, all right, oh, wow, look, this person's already doing that on their own. We can work on the back of this, and then look what this does. You have to have the right personality. You can't just put a camera in front of somebody, this, Dave, and be like, all right, say something interesting for Instagram.
That's going to be part of a training camp now. Is going to be you're going to do your drills, and then at the end of it, you got to make a TikTok. Am I right? So see who can do the best on the field. best TikTok dance, best video editing. You know, that's how it's going to go, right?
But as crazy it is, today I saw one of the most popular trends on TikTok are kids making videos asking their parents to vote conservative so they can have a future and have a job and buy a house and have their own life. Like, this is in the past 24 hours, there's been a flood of these. And I'm like, okay, so it's infiltrated elections. I mean, sports is a lot easier and can spread a lot further than politics per se. So
You're
it's
on a
great.
different side of TikTok than I am, Maz. I usually just see a lot of videos of like Ovechkin singing "Bands Will Make Her Dance."
I don't hear, and here's the thing, and because I'm old, I don't even have TikTok. But when you see what on Instagram, what they're doing on TikTok, because like I said, it all goes around and it all gets connected back around. So
yes, a true baby boomer who sees the TikTok video on Instagram 2 weeks later.
As long as
I'm
you
waiting
see it,
for the
right,
email
Coulson?
on that.
Dave, the other day we found out when the news of the coffee machine being taken away that Curtis is devastated and crushed.
Stop bringing it up.
And Coulson told us he's only had 4 cups of coffee in his life, so Coulson couldn't care less that this thing was gone. It didn't affect him at all. And they said it's the perfect yin and yang of their generation to be like, doesn't affect me, I don't care.
I'm devastated
awesome.
Still. However, Coulson does care. He's such a nice guy. He actually bought me an iced coffee before the show today, and I was like, wow.
Whoa.
Coulson cares.
Nice. Look at that.
Chris has
Teamwork
been
making the
working
dream
hard.
work.
He deserves it.
I just want to get a head count here. If the Charleston Hughes surfboard idea comes through, because there's going to be budget for surfboards, but not a lot of budget for shipping and handling. We may need you guys to go move some of these heavy objects, the cases and the pallets of surfboards. So just mental note, keep that on that may pop up on your calendar. Could you imagine somebody walking around, or a bunch of people walking around Mosaic at a game with a surfboard, like a full-size surfboard?
Hey, I went immediately to the thought that, hey, could you imagine being out at like Waskasiu or you name the lake in Saskatchewan, and all of a sudden you've got a Charleston Hughes surfboard that you're towing behind that big boat? That'd be pretty cool.
Nice. Hey, Buffalo Pound, look out. You've never seen anything like it. All right, time to take a break. When we come back, we'll go inside the NHL with Eric Francis from Sportsnet. The Flames are done, and the playoff matches are 99.9% set. Just one last thing to be decided. This is the Sports Cage. If you're watching what we're doing on our stream at sportscage.com on our YouTube channel, thanks. Give us a like and a subscribe. And we're on the radio at 620 CKRM.
The Keniston Super Draft is back with the 2025 NHL Playoff Draft. Over $80,000, over 200 cash winners, and 3 ways to win. What teams does a person ride this year? Or will taking a couple of snipers from each team be the strategy this time around? There are a number of ways to get in on the action. 1 entry for $40, or go in with some buddies and get 7 entries for just $200. And the Super 8 add-on is back for even more playoff fun. The Keniston Super Draft, sponsored by the Keniston Lions. Deadline is Tuesday, April 22nd, 6 p.m. Central Time. Superdraft.com. Come join an unforgettable evening at the Regina Red Sox Dinner and Auction on Saturday, April 26th at the Turvey Center. This year's special guest will be Saskatchewan Roughriders head coach Corey Mace and offensive coordinator Mark Mueller. Pre-dinner drinks will start at 6 p.m. and dinners at 7. And don't forget the live and silent auction. Tickets are available at reginaredsox.com. Get your tickets now for the Regina Red Sox Dinner and Auction Saturday, April 26th. And support Regina Red Sox baseball. Presented by Dusick & Barlow Insurance at SGI Canada. Play ball!
Sprayer controls are all set up. You good to go now?
Yup. Is the GPS guidance system set up there too?
Yeah, you're all ready. Get out there.
When you get everything you need from Farmtronics, you know you'll be all set for this spring. With everything from sprayer controls and GPS guidance systems to weather stations and backup cameras, you'll oversee your entire operation with confidence. See Farmtronics, 380 Henderson Drive, or call 1-800-667-8001.
The Country Music Rewind with Colin Lovequist.
We are going to take you back to the year 2000. We're going to feature a song about killing somebody that turned into a #1 hit. We'll also feature some great Canadian talent, including Chris Cummings, Michelle Wright, Jamie Warren had a big hit, and many more.
The Country Music Rewind with Colin Lovequist. Brought to you by Crawford's No Frills. Saturday afternoons at 4 and Sunday afternoons at 1 on Country's Greatest Hits. 620 CKRM.
So, since that little ding on my car last week, I don't know where to take it.
I don't even know.
That's easy. Take it to Regina Motor Products.
Who said that?
I did. Down here. I'm Terry the Tire. Regina Motor Products Chevrolet Collision Center and SGI accredited auto body repair is a full-service collision and body shop that works on all makes and models. Just submit your claim to SGI and set an appointment to get your appraisal done. Easy.
I bet you're tired after saying all that.
South at Highway 1 and 6, Albert Street. RMPChevrolet.com.
This is 620 CKRM Regina, a Harvard media station. Available everywhere on the CKRM app, Radio Player Canada, and at 620CKRM.com.
It's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Corey Atkinson from the SaskToday.ca newsroom with your 620 CKRM news. Police are looking still for Jason Paul Thorne, who is unlawfully at large and is considered a high risk to reoffend. Thorne had been living at a supervised home in Regina since his release from custody. When officers couldn't locate him, they began an investigation and issued a warrant for his arrest. Police say Thorne's past includes sex crimes and that he is a risk to young girls. They warn the public to take safety steps but not act violently. Just hours before the French language debate, the Leaders Debate Commission rescinded its invitation to the Green Party. It says because the party intentionally reduced its number of candidates running in the federal election, it no longer meets the intention of the participation criteria. Green Party leader Jonathan Pedneau says it's an effort to silence his party.
Their last-minute decision to exclude the Green Party of Canada from the Leaders Debate is not only unjust and baseless because we met the criteria, it is undemocratic.
Pedneau says he fully expects the Commission to reverse its decision before tonight's debate. For more of our extensive coverage of Canada Votes 2025, go to sasktoday.ca and 620ckrm.com. And don't forget to join us on election night, April 28th, for our live coverage starting when the polls close at 7:30. The Bank of Canada is keeping its benchmark interest rate on hold as it waits to get a clearer picture on how global trade uncertainty is going to impact the Canadian economy. The central bank kept its policy rate steady at 2.75%. Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem says the path for U.S. trade policy remains highly unpredictable.
We don't know what's coming next. And U.S. policy could well move back and forth before the situation is clearer.
Macklem says the Bank of Canada is committed to keeping inflation under control and will proceed carefully with future rate decisions. Ontario has tabled legislation to make trade between provinces easier as a way to shore up the economy against the effects of American tariffs. The bill would make Ontario the first government in Canada to unconditionally remove all current exceptions to interprovincial free trade. Premier Doug Ford also signed memorandums of understanding today with the premiers of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick that support removing barriers between those provinces.
No single province can tear down these trade barriers alone. Instead, we need all 13 provinces and territories working together, along with the federal government, to build a stronger, more united Canada.
The bill is set to remove barriers that make it difficult for people in certain jobs to work in different provinces. And wrestling fans are getting ready to descend upon Las Vegas for WWE's WrestleMania 41. The event includes a number of WrestleMania matches to be held on April 19th and 20th, along with a flurry of other activities in the days before and after. They include meet and greets with wrestlers, a WWE Hall of Fame ceremony, and a roast of WrestleMania hosted by Tony Hinchcliffe. That is your 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sasktoday.ca and 620ckrm.com. Your weather is next.
You stand there, hands on your hips, tears brimming while you stare at that beautiful lawn. No one understands the physical toll it takes to make your lawn this stunning except you and Barassa & Sons. Barassa and Toro have your back, literally. Toro's patented My Ride suspension features a floating rear seat and front shocks that take all the bumps so you don't. Don't wait for the grass to turn green. See the 2025 Toro lineup at ebarassa.com before they sell out. ebarassa.com.
So, how big is yours?
5 inches.
That's about average. How'd you like 6 inches?
6 inches?
6 inches? That would be a big improvement.
A 6-inch package from Prairie 6-inch eaves trough is made specifically for your farm building. 6-inch eaves troughs are more durable and efficient during storms. They're family owned and operated, so you'll get an honest installation at a fair price. Prairie 6-inch eaves trough, your farm shop specialist. Call 570-6415.
Your 620 CKRM weather forecast tonight: partly cloudy, windy, and a low of -5. Tomorrow, cloudy, showers, windy, and a high of 7. Good Friday, sunshine and a high of 6. Saturday, sunny and a high of 14. And for Easter Sunday, sunny and a high of 16. Right now, it's cloudy, windy, and 12 degrees. Your weather is for Line X Regina, Serious Protection, Killer Looks, 1865 McCarra Street.
When you want the best for your truck, you want Line X. Your truck has withstood the harshest elements Saskatchewan has thrown at it. Rocks, gravel, rain, sleet, and snow, and left with no chips, no rust. Line X protective coating keeps your truck's bed liners, rocker panels, and bumpers looking like brand new. Don't settle for Brand X. Go with Line X. It's serious protection. Come see why everybody loves taking their truck to Line X Regina for their rocker panels, bumpers, and more. Line X. Make your truck complete. 1865 McCarra Street.
Mountie up. Steel Panther and Buck Cherry present the Northern Exposure Tour. She's got the eyes on. April 29th, 7:30 p.m. Connexus Arts Center. Hey, y'all crazy bitch, but Steel Panther and Buck Cherry. 1987. On sale now at connexusartscenter.ca. Don't miss Steel Panther and Buck Cherry together live. See you at the center.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sportscage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Regina Motor Products, proudly serving Saskatchewan for over 70 years. Visit rnpchevrolet.com today. Be part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The Sportscage, streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Hour 2 of the show starts now. It's Maz in for Barney. Short week here at the Sports Cage. We'll have a show tomorrow. Sharky will be in with me, and then we're off on Friday for Good Friday, and then everything goes back to normal on Monday. Although the kids could be off on Easter Monday as well. And federal employees. I've always admired people, whatever the workplace, if they also, everybody seems to get Good Friday off. But the Easter Monday, a bit of a wild card. Respect if you get Easter Monday off. You've got a good boss, a good union, a good bargaining agreement, whatever that is, if you've got Monday off as well. Busy night in the Western Hockey League. 4 games. Round 2 of the playoffs continue. Victoria and Spokane, the series is tied at 1. Portland at Everett. The Winterhawks won Game 3 last night, 3-1. The Silvertips lead the series 2-1. Lethbridge and Calgary, the Hitmen, beat the Hurricanes 5-3 last night, and now they trail the series 2-1. I think that's going to go 7. After they won last night, for whatever reason, I don't know why the Hitmen didn't play well at home. They just couldn't score, but last night they looked like the Hitmen team that we saw in the second half of the season. So if that ends up going 7, that is not a surprise. Then Prince Albert and Medicine Hat tonight. Tigers leading the series 2-0. The Raiders desperately need a win tonight at the Art Hauser. If they go down 3-0 to Medicine Hat, maybe they win Game 4, but there's no way, if that's got to go back forth, that the Tigers and all that firepower with Gavin McKenna can't get this thing done. So that'll be tonight, Game 3, face-off there just after 7 o'clock. All right, it is Wednesday. That means it's time to go inside the NHL with Eric Francis from Sportsnet.
Now for Inside the NHL with Eric Francis on the Sports Cage. Inside the NHL is brought to you by Selfie Mainline Chrysler, the newest king of trucks. Worth the drive every time, guaranteed.
Hey, pal, how are you? Is that vodka? Is that a stiff quadruple vodka you're drinking there?
Tell you what, the jolt that Calgary took last night,
Yeah, probably requires some pretty stiff drinking. It was a tough night to be a Flames fan, boy. Tough night. A proud night,
Well, yeah. So it was around, what was it, around 9 o'clock. The out-of-town scoreboard came through with the bad news that the St. Louis Blues had beat the Utah whatevers 6-1, and that the Minnesota Wild had come back being down from 2-1 late in the game to win 3-2 in overtime. That's nuts. And then it was all over with the Flames. But at the time, the Flames were losing 3-1. And just like they did all season, they clawed back and end up winning that game in a shootout. And they beat Vegas. So, Eric, you were at the Dome last night. What was the mood before the game? And then what was the mood like after, once the scores were flashed and everybody knew that it wasn't happening for the Flames this year?
Yeah, it was a roller coaster. You know, I mean, you go into the Dome, everyone's nervous, knowing that the odds are still stacked against the team, but there was a sliver of hope. And I thought the team played poorly in the first period and a half, maybe 2 periods. They weren't really playing up to a team that, knew it was do or die. But I think they had one eye on the scoreboard at all time. I think it was a tremendous distraction for them. And it was in that second intermission that they went into the locker room and they found out that Minnesota had put an absolute dagger in their heart with a goal with 20 seconds to go. I mean, just unheard of. Just the Flames couldn't get a break. I'm not saying they didn't make the playoffs because they were unlucky, but they just needed a little help on the scoreboard. Like St. Louis winning 12 in a row, Minnesota scoring with 20 seconds to go. Like, there was so much that kept happening to the Flames, almost conspiring against them. And here we are. They're out of the playoffs, but I give them a ton of credit, man. They went out there, they looked at each other. I asked them all, how did you guys go out and come back in the third period in a game that your hearts had just been ripped out? The game means nothing now. But they said, we looked at each other, we said, let's do it for ourselves, let's do it for our fans. And it almost felt like a movie when they were saying that afterwards. And they scored 2 goals in the first minute, went in a shootout. And, I stayed... I wanted to stay and see what the crowd was going to do at the end of the game, because I figured they'd want their chance to basically say thank you. Thank you for being a team that never gives up, that works hard, that basically gives us our money's worth every single night, win or lose. And that's exactly what happened. It was so fitting that Wolf made the last save. He was pretty jacked. And then the crowd went nuts. It was almost a full minute of standing ovation, people saying thank you for everything, and the players really soaked it in. It was a really stirring moment, and kind of a nice bow on a season that was very unexpected on so many fronts. So yeah, a range of emotions, but at the end of the night, I thought Mackenzie Weegar said it best when he said, "You know what? I know a lot of my teammates have probably come in here already and said they're disappointed and sad, but all I want to say is that was one hell of a fight, and we have raised the standard and the bar in this city." And next year, we know what it takes. Next year, more will be, we'll have more expectations on us. And we've built a culture here that's going to be able to handle it. So I think moving forward, they're in a good place.
Next year. And nobody knows what that'll look like, other than the fact that the Flames have cap space. So if you're Craig Conroy, and as a Flames fan, you've got a lot of money to spend, you've got some assets that potentially, Nazem Kadri never scored more goals than this year. If there's ever a time where someone may need a 30-goal scorer, could be now. Maybe prospects, maybe some young people in the system. Do you think, and it's early, we're not even 24 hours from this, should Craig Conroy open the checkbook and go sign some free agents this summer and try and add on to what got started this year?
I don't think so. I think you leave that money in the bank. I think you call it your rainy day fund. They got $20 million to spend, more than any other team in the league, on free agents if they want to. But I just don't feel like the timing is right now. On Thursday night, we're going to see 4 kids make their NHL debut. 4 highly touted Flames prospects are going to do the rookie lap in LA. And those are kids that all have a chance at making that opening night roster next year. I would hate to see them go out and pay big money for a veteran to steal a spot from a young kid who would otherwise have a chance to make this team. So to me, they're still several years away from being a legit contender. make it all coincide with the opening of the new building in 2027. That's 3 seasons from now. Wait to see who comes up. Like right now, what their biggest need is a centerman. And, Sam Bennett is the best centerman who's going to be available this summer. It's an interesting proposition. There's a familiarity there. Is he a number 1 center? No, nobody in the world thinks he's a number 1 center, but he's a damn good number 2, and he's a hell of a role player and a hell of a leader. Would he ever want to come back to Calgary? I don't know. He's got a relationship with Conroy that I think is pretty strong, but also pretty tough to, I don't know if he's going back to Florida. I don't think they can afford him, but, he's going to go somewhere where it's maybe a little bit warmer than Calgary. Either way, my point is, I don't see anyone out there who's that guy who could really be the perfect fit for the Calgary Flames in the open market. So I don't think they should spend that money this summer. As a matter of fact, I don't think they should spend any of it this summer. I think they should weaponize it, keep using it to be third parties in trades, use it to, they may have to trade Rasmus Anderson this summer, sweeten the deal by, paying for him for the final year or something like that. I don't know. I think there's creative ways to spend that money as opposed to just, so many GMs in the history of sport have spent money just because they have it. And I think it's been proven time and time again that if you use it the right way, it can really be that much more valuable than spending it on one player.
We know that nobody's going to take on that Jonathan Huberdeau contract. And it's not like the Flames are trying to get rid of him. So he's off the table. But you mentioned a name, a Rasmus Anderson, and then I think a Blake Coleman and a Nazem Kadri, NHL veterans that have some term, but if the prices were right, maybe move, because like you had said, if they're planning this for the opening of the new arena in a few years, maybe aren't even around for that if the opportunity is there. Are Coleman and Kadri along with Anderson, would they also be on your short list of guys that could be moved? No, I would think, I believe that Rasmus Anderson played his last game at the Saddle Dome last night as a Flame. I do think he'll get traded this summer. But the other two, I'm not going to say untouchable. Gretzky got traded, but I think that they are too important to the core of this group for this team to part with them anytime soon. So I think I'd be stunned if Coleman was traded. I'd be surprised if Kadri was traded. I would be surprised if Anderson isn't traded. And I say that, Anderson was really good this year. Played on that top pairing, blocked 1 million shots. I think he was third in the league in block shots. Like, he was a real warrior and a leader. But he was minus 39, I believe. Like, that's not a stat I pay a whole lot of attention to unless it's 30 more than any of your teammates. Look, I still think there'll be a big market for him. I think you get a first rounder and a prospect for a guy like Rasmus Anderson. But I think it's, he's going into the final year of his contract. You either sign him for 6, 7, 8 years and you keep him as a cornerstone, or you're going to have to trade him. I don't think there's a middle ground there. I think the team would probably like to sign him for 4 years, but he's got the leverage, I think, now to cash in for that home run. So I just don't know if the Flames are going to be the team willing to pay that money. He'll get it from somebody. I'm just not sure it'll be Calgary. The only undecided teams in the NHL playoff wildcard scenario are the Montreal Canadiens and the Columbus Blue Jackets. And if it wouldn't have been for a little light reading on Monday, I thought Montreal was pretty much a lock because Columbus has played horribly for the past 20 games. But if Montreal loses tonight in regulation and Columbus wins tomorrow, Habs are out, Columbus is in. Take the Canadian teams in the playoff. Who for you do you want to see? Because you've said, like, Montreal, it's not there.
Well, look, I spent the last 8-9 years covering Johnny Gaudreau, and maybe this is a bit of a stretch, but I think it would be a beautiful story if Columbus could get into the playoffs after the devastation they've gone through. That would be really stirring, I think. Now, do I think Columbus can make any noise in the playoffs? No. Do I think Montreal can make any noise in the playoffs? I actually feel like they have a better chance to make a little noise in the playoffs, but certainly not go much further than one round. So it's kind of irrelevant. I work for Sportsnet. We make money off Canadian teams in the playoffs.
I know.
So Maybe that's my answer. I'm supposed to give you the corporate answer that I hope it's Montreal.
Perfect.
I want Canadian teams in there too. But all I'm saying is if the long shot comes through and Columbus does it, boy, that's a neat story for an organization that's really been, battered over the years for, just with some bad luck, quite frankly. So yeah, it is interesting. I'm glad we've got a league where it does come down to the second last night of the season. And last night, the third last night, was determined 3 separate teams. So it's pretty cool that there's that much parity.
The Leafs win the Atlantic Division for only the 3rd time, and I don't know how many years, but it's long. But then the even crazier stat is that the Ottawa Senators and the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to meet in the first round of the playoffs, and it's been something like 7,600 days since they've played each other. That seems crazy. So Battle of Ontario, who, to me, Brady Tkachuk is the wild card factor in all of this. And if he's disciplined, Brady, or is he wild, crazy Brady, but does he take himself off his own game? I don't know. If you're the Leafs, you have probably no idea which one you're going to get.
If I'm the Leafs, I'm doing everything I can to agitate Brady Tkachuk. Get him off his game, get him in the penalty box, get him dropping the gloves. See, look, he's banged up. My guess is he's banged up because of fights. There's no question in my mind that fighting has taken its toll on him and is part of the reason why he's not in the lineup right now. And he's doesn't turn down too many fights. I think you go out there and you try to get him to fight every single game because that's a trade-off. Doesn't matter who the Leaf player is. That's a trade-off that the Leafs win every time. Look, it's not like Ottawa is just a one-player team, but he is the series to me. People in Toronto are so self-centered. They'll think it's about Austin Matthews or will Mitch Marner finally show up for a playoff or, can John Tavares continue this recent magic? No. From afar, and you said it, and I'll say it as well, this is all about Brady Tkachuk. This is his chance to shine. He's finally getting into the playoffs. He's been dreaming of this. I've spoken to him for years about how hard it is for him to watch his brother play in the playoffs, have a little bit of success in Calgary, but have a ton of success in Florida. And we saw the footage of how emotional he was when his brother won a cup. Not that he feels like it's his turn or his time because no one thinks Ottawa can do much damage, but he's going to take this spotlight and show everybody just what a great leader he is. I can't wait.
In the first couple of games, obviously, Ottawa's on the road. They don't have last change. But when they get back to Ottawa, to me, if you put a Brady Tkachuk on a guy like a Mitch Marner or something like that, like Marner could just disappear because Marner doesn't play physical. It's not that he's a small guy. That's just not his game. And that's the thing, I think, with the Leafs skill, like you'd mentioned, like there's more to the Senators lineup than just Brady Tkachuk. And with all that offense for Toronto, if you can catch them, but if you can put bodies on them, we've seen this. This is typical 101 playoff hockey. All the offensive guys, some of them will be able to play through this and the physicality, and some guys will fold like a cheap lawn chair. I just kind of have this feeling that if they do that, I'm not saying Tavares, because Tavares is a big guy and can kind of mix it up a little bit, but like the Marners, Matthews, I said in hour one, I would love to know what's wrong with Austin Matthews because he's just not right. Could he stand 5 or 6 games of physical pounding of playoff hockey? Like, what will the toll take on him for someone who's not right to begin with?
Yeah, I think the Leafs know that that's the game plan against a guy like Matthews and Marner and Tavares to a lesser extent. I mean, Nylander, these are not gritty guys. But I think that Brad Treliving, he comes from an old school style of hockey. I mean, Brad was a fighter himself. He's told me a million stories, great fight stories. Love to tell some of them here, but I don't think I can. But he's all about making sure you've got that nuclear deterrent. He wants guys like Reeves around. He wants guys like Domi around to make sure that nobody does anything stupid with the Stars. And I think they've got enough toughness there that they'll be able to prevent it from becoming a gong show and giving some room to those guys. Look, this is going to be a fascinating. You're asking me about Matthews. I'm more interested in Marner because he doesn't have a contract this summer. If he goes wild and scores all sorts of points and finally has the kind of playoff that everybody was hoping he would eventually have, it's going to be awfully hard for them to not sign him. If he has another pedestrian playoff, the whole city will collectively say goodbye, Mitch. Good luck wherever you're going to go. So his career, I think his future depends on how well he plays in these playoffs. So you're looking at Matthews, the whole world is, because he was the best goal scorer in the world last year. I'm looking at Marner, the trigger man, to see if he can, continue his stay in Toronto.
The Panthers and Lightning series is intriguing. If the Panthers are icing a full and healthy lineup with Matthew Tkachuk, slight advantage Panthers. But if it's this Panthers light that they've been rolling out for the past 10 games, I don't see how the Lightning don't win.
What a great rivalry that is. Like, how good is that for hockey, especially in the States? And they hate each other, and there's a history already. And
two best coaches in the NHL.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I think they are the two best coaches in the NHL. And I think that, I'm not convinced Matthew Tkachuk is going to be in that series in game 1, 2, or even at all. Like, for that guy to miss that game, that goal, that final game in the Four Nations, I know he dressed and everything, but that tells you how hurt he was, right? And he's been skating with the team. He's been traveling with the team of late. And why play a guy in the final several games this season? I get it. But I'm still not fully believing we're going to see him. And we're certainly not going to see him at his best, in my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. But that was a pretty serious injury, whatever it is he's got. So him, Brad Marchand, Sam Bennett, I know they don't play on the same line, but God, at some point we've got to see them all on the ice at the same time. That is pure chaos and phenomenal hockey players too. So grit, tenacity, finish, like they've got it all. Those are 3 unicorns in today's game. So I don't know how Tampa counters that. They counter it with their depth, and they've got some great blue liners. And let me throw it back at you. Look, I'm going to watch a ton of playoff hockey. I'm going to watch as many series as I can. What's sexier, that series, the Battle of Ontario, or Colorado versus Dallas?
Colorado-Dallas, to me, is the high-speed track meet. That is that's the fight I want to see close out the 3 fights on the card. Senators, because of the grudge and all that, and the back forth or whatever it could. Panthers Lightning. It's funny, those Panthers Lightning game, just because of the goaltending alone, those could be 1-0 games, or they could be 6-5, because that's just how they play, and you never know which team's going to show up. And then the Stars Avalanche. I mean, with Landeskog back, like just a track meet, because wasn't it you saying that you couldn't? Like, Colorado up close is so fast. Like, you don't realize just how fast they are and how quick that they move. That Dallas, who's good as well, is going to have their hands full. But if Jake Ottinger is Jake Ottinger of a couple of years ago, that's a tough series. But if it's Jake Ottinger of this year, who's been kind of up and down, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. It's Dallas, maybe the deepest team in hockey. Colorado, maybe the fastest team in hockey. What's neat about those 3 series I just said, look, nobody thinks that the winner of the Battle of Ontario is going to win the Stanley Cup. Nobody thinks that, unless you live in the 416 area code. The other 2 series, I don't think anybody would bat an eye if the winner of either one of those series went on to win the Cup. As a matter of fact, I would imagine that those 2 teams may be the 2 favorites coming out of that series, whoever wins those 2 series. So, yeah, the different styles that they play are fascinating, but just so much talent and so unfortunate they've got to play in the first round. Like, I'm happy for hockey fans we get to watch the Battle of Florida, but I'm sad that one of them has to lose right away. Same with Colorado-Dallas. It just seems unfair that you can be that good, that dominant all year, and have to play a team like that and could be out in 5 games or something like that.
The Jets and the Blues, the Jets pretty much from start to finish, the best team in the league. They win the President's Trophy. The Blues, one of the hottest teams coming into the playoffs. If the Blues end up winning, I wouldn't be surprised because the Jets could turn into the Jets of the past, and they haven't punched that ticket yet. That out of all of those other series, that one would shock me the least if the Jets are out in the first round. I don't think they will be, but if they do, it wouldn't surprise me.
No, I mean St. Louis, the hottest team in hockey. I mean, how could you be surprised if they continued rolling on? Right? They've been phenomenal of late, and no one's quite sure how, but they've done it. And different cast of characters every night. Youthful exuberance, a few veterans in there, and a goalie who's refound a fountain of youth again. But to me, the team that I would be least surprised if they lost the first round would be Washington. I know that the last 5-7 games don't mean anything for a team like that to finish second overall, but I just haven't seen a lot of things. The hype around Ovi is gone. I mean, I think we talked about this Monday. I just don't. I'm not a believer in Washington. They'll have to prove that what they did this season wasn't a fluke. But yeah, Winnipeg. I'd probably agree with you that they are probably the biggest wild card in all this. Like if they went to the final, would it shock me? Yeah, it surprised me given the fact that they are the Jets. But the team on paper, if you just took that entire roster and moved them to Dallas, you wouldn't be surprised if they got to the final, right? Because it's not Winnipeg. It just seems that organization's never had playoff success, certainly not of late. And so they've got to prove that they're legit. They'll get Velarde back, I believe, and that'll help on their top line. But they've got depth and depth and depth. And they've got the best goalie by a mile, not just a little bit. I'm just filling out my again, I think I said this on Monday as well, but I'm just filling out my ballot. And I can't put someone ahead of Hellebuck for the Hart. I just can't. Been a lot of great players this year, but he's that much better than anybody else at his position, and I have to reward that with my first place vote for the Hart.
I was reading earlier today, I guess the whiteout tickets in Winnipeg for both games 1 and 2 sold out in like under 3 minutes. So it's going to be a madhouse there. The Golden Knights and the Wild, I knew when it was 3-1 last night, and I know the game didn't mean anything. I'm like, Vegas is going to be Vegas here and blow this and lose. My only concern with Minnesota and Vegas, they're both liabilities. They're not exactly lock it down. Like I said, there could be some 6-5 games there either way, just because they can score and sometimes they can't defend. Marc-Andre Fleury, if he is the starter, isn't the Marc-Andre Fleury of old. Adin Hill could be the shutdown Adin Hill. He could be the Adin Hill that lets in 5. You don't know. I mean, Vegas is good. They're big. They're strong. They've got all that offense, but I'll go Golden Knights. And then probably one of the more intriguing series, just because we talked earlier in the season, the Kings play a boring style of hockey, but they sure did win a bunch of games down the stretch, and the Oilers are just injured. Evander Kane was the quote yesterday when they asked him about could you play, and he said, I played last year on one leg, so I'm already past that point right now. So sounds like he's ready to go.
Yeah, it's my understanding he's been ready to go for a long time, and they just couldn't. You can't have him come back in the regular season because it messes up your LTIR. So he'll be ready to go. And you know what? I don't think he's the kind of guy you want in your dressing room. I don't think there's a team in the league that wants that guy in your dressing room. But I do think that he's the kind of guy that you don't mind having on the ice, especially in the playoffs, because I do think, look, can he go out and score a bunch of goals? I don't know. He's missed so much time. I'm not sure he can still be effective offensively. But he gives you some depth and he gives you grit. And he'll hit everything that moves, and he's fearless. And, I think that's something that's been missing in Edmonton for a while. Look, Edmonton's decimated. They're happy to get anybody back, even if it's someone who's not that popular. But, yeah, he'll be back. He'll be back. And, I'm so fat. You were talking about the Knights. Like, is Eichel going to be back? Yeah, I think so. Is Draisaitl going to be ready to go? I think so. Do you not feel that this year we've seen more I'll just call it to what it is. Guys resting, in the final 5, 6, 7 games of the season than ever before. It's like becoming the NBA.
Yeah, it is. That's typically what the NBA does. Yeah.
I don't like it. And because hockey players are tough and they play through anything, but I also understand the logic of saying, look, buddy, enough is enough. Like Drew Doughty's been injured, for a month. And the coach's quote the other day was, he won't be healthy the rest of the year, even into the playoffs. But so they gave him a little bit of a rest. They put him in the lineup the other night against the Oilers, and then they took him out last night. So it shows you how banged up they are. Anyway, my point is I don't know how you prevent it. I just don't like the way it's going because especially people who are in pools that go right to the final day, it really screws up your roster when all sorts of your best players are getting sat out. So I don't like it, but I think it's here to stay.
On the Evander Kane point that you made, if anything, him coming back in the lineup, I think takes probably some pressure off Corey Perry as the guy who feels like he needs to do it all, be the agitator, and maybe provide some offense and some leadership. Then maybe Corey Perry can just do half of the jobs because, Worm's great. And in the playoffs, a Kane and a Perry, it's funny you talked about, those are the guys you exactly need because they're built for this and they're not afraid to go get dirty and do all the stuff that nobody else wants to do. As far as off-season moves, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. Peter Laviolette is still coach of the New York Rangers. From today forward, is he the coach starting training camp for that hockey club?
Great question. I mean, they were probably the biggest underachievers of the year. I don't think that's much of a debate. And, you're often looking for a scapegoat or someone to kind of just look at and say, look, you probably could have been a whole lot better, or we think somebody else could be better than you. Look, he's been in the league a lot of years, and he's an accomplished coach. And, I do respect the job he's done over the years, but sometimes you need a scapegoat. I don't know. He's lasted this long, so I feel like they won't fire him. But and the Rangers, I was going to say they got a little better at the end, but they didn't. Panarin did. He turned his season around near the end, but nobody else did. So, I don't know. I don't know who you blame there. And sometimes you fire a coach just because the GM's getting too much heat. But I think Drury's done. I think the GM's done a pretty good job there assembling a team that should have been a whole lot better. To me, there's a culture issue there, and that falls more on the coach than the GM.
The Vancouver Canucks, no shortage of drama over the past couple of years. Rick Tocchet, expiring contract with a team option, apparently. Do you think he comes back and is their head coach?
It's a great question because there's Philadelphia out there, right, that could probably use a guy like that. He's a legend in Philadelphia, and there's been talk connecting those dots. It is a gong show in Vancouver, and maybe at some point, Tocchet looks in the mirror and says, look, I can go and start anew in Philadelphia where I'm a legend. Now, he is a legend in Vancouver, too. They love him there. The fans love it. I get it. You're asking I think he's going to stay. I think he's going to take this challenge head on and say, I've got guys who I think I can help turn around and we can build something here. But I think the easy thing would be to take the job in Philadelphia. I don't feel like Rick Tocchet's the kind of guy who just takes the easy way out. I just feel like he'll stay in Vancouver.
I don't trust Vancouver's front office, that Patrick Alvin guy, and it just seems like everything that ever leaks out, it just seems like it's just not Philly's a bit of a mess too, like with what Torch and all that, but it just seems like Vancouver is, and you said their fans are crazy online, so don't come after me. Are you traveling for the playoffs? I know. I'm saying you didn't say that. You just said that they are crazy and that the worst fan base in the league to deal with. Just stating a fact. Are you traveling for the first round of the playoffs? Are you going anywhere? Are you on assignment?
No, I'm thrilled to say I got to pick up the pieces here in Calgary. There's a little bit more work to do here for a locker clean-out day. And then second round, looks like I'll be on the go. And, if there's an All-American series, I may just jump on a plane and go cover that.
All right. Well, then don't then you've got time to get in on the Keniston Super Draft for the Stanley Cup playoffs. There's over $80,000 in prize money. All you need to do, Eric, is select 32 players, and entry is only $40. No freebies for esteemed members of the press. 3 entries for $100 or 7 for $200. And there's also the Super 8 add-on, not a room at the Super 8 hotel. It's $10,000 cash. You just need to go to superdraft.com. All right, my friend, we'll catch up with you on Monday. Have a great weekend of watching nonstop hockey from start to finish.
Yeah, exactly.
Happy Easter.
Enjoy it, my man. Happy Easter. Are we doing Easter?
Yeah.
Easter Monday? Are we talking on Monday?
Well, this is not a federally run operation. Of course we're on.
Okay.
We're not on Friday, but yeah, Monday we're on. There'll be a ton to talk about. We'll be one game closer to the Leafs winning the Stanley Cup. So it'll be all good in the hood. Okay.
Lots to talk about.
Lots to talk about.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Eric. We're going to take a break here on the Sports Cage. When we come back, the Toronto Blue Jays. Some were reporting doom and gloom because they weren't able to sign Vlad Guerrero and it was going to be a tough season. But so far, so good. The Jays are in second place in the AL East, and they took on the Atlanta Braves earlier today. We'll talk a little Blue Jays baseball next on the Sports Cage. We're streaming. We're on X and on our YouTube channel at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
620 CKRM is your home to country's greatest hits and the 90s at 9. 1 full hour featuring the biggest hits of the 90s. Garth, Reba, Alan, Shania, George, and so much more. No cassette tape or CDs required, and 90s mullets are optional. 90s at 9 for the town of Wolseley and the voice of Saskatchewan. 620 CKRM.
Truck Month has arrived at Crestview in Regina. Built for power, luxury, and technology, the Ram 1500 is Motor Trend's Truck of the Year for 2025. And we're celebrating with employee pricing on all new 2025 Ram 1500s. That means savings up to $10,000 and 0% financing is available too. Plus, save up to $30,000 on an amazing selection of demo units. It's Truck Month, only for a limited time at Crestview Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
Come join an unforgettable evening at the Regina Red Sox Dinner and Auction on Saturday, April 26th at the Turvey Center. This year's special guest will be Saskatchewan Roughriders head coach Corey Mace and offensive coordinator Mark Mueller. Pre-dinner drinks will start at 6 p.m. and dinners at 7. And don't forget the live and silent auction. Tickets are available at reginaredsox.com. Get your tickets now for the Regina Red Sox Dinner and Auction Saturday, April 26th. And support Regina Red Sox baseball. Presented by Dusick & Barlow Insurance at SGI Canada. Play ball!
It's the start of a new year. Time to get financially fit. If you're looking to open an RRSP or a TFSA, maximize an existing account, or update your investment mix, Cooperators can provide the personalized advice and service you need. Want to start the new year on the right financial foot? Contact your local advisor to build a plan that works for you. Cooperators, investing in your future together.
If you've ever had to clean out a grain bin in August, you know that most metal buildings can get scorching hot during the summer. Hi, I'm Terry from Zipperlock Building Company. At Zipperlock, our buildings are white, so they absorb far less heat than your average metal farm building. Avoid working in an oven next summer. Store your grain, fertilizer, and farm equipment in a Zipperlock building instead. Zipperlock Building Company, built in hours to last a lifetime. See us in Raymore or call 1-888-692-5515.
Meet your new favorite shade of green. At Nick's Service, we offer the Fendt 500 Vario Series tractor that's tailor-made for your farm. Get better stability, ease of use, and comfort with one tractor. Whether you're feeding, tilling, baling, or hauling, this series is built for your farm. Experience up to 163 horsepower with this multi-purpose tractor. Visit Nick's Service in Emerald Park or go to nicksservice.com to get a quote on the Fendt 500 Vario Series.
The Sports Cage Clutch Performer for Nick's Service in Emerald Park. Your local Massey Ferguson Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fendt dealer. Call 781-1077.
Clutch Performer. Carson Wetch, Calgary Hitmen. Last night, he took over the game in Lethbridge, scored the hat trick. Hitmen win 5-3, and now the series is 2-1 Lethbridge with Game 4 set to go tonight. Hitmen couldn't go down 3-0 to the Hurricanes. Tonight, if the Hitmen come back strong, this thing is tied. If they're tied up, I think this goes 7. And Medicine Hat, I think they're going to get past PA and have a good shot to win it all. But out of this series here, if it's the Hitmen taking on the Tigers, you got a good Eastern final there. Not to say that Lethbridge and Medicine Hat wouldn't be. That's a quick bus ride, right? It's the ultimate bus ride. But Carson Wetch, clutch performer. Double C's, Colson and Curtis. Oh, by the way, I totally forgot to introduce you guys earlier in the show. I mean, you've been on or whatever. We want to give everybody their props. I think we need the big voice guy to actually do some stuff, because I've heard Barney complain about, well, how come that guy never says my name? And I'm like, I don't know, but maybe we need some double C's, some Curtis and Colson from the deep voice guy.
I would not complain hearing my name from the big voice guy, that's for sure. But
okay.
Yeah, focusing on clutch performers. I heard the Blue Jays did pretty good today. So clutch performer, Guerrero Jr. gets his first homer of the season. Finally, been waiting for that one. Second decker, no less. So,
okay, here's the thing. And maybe he was holding out, but they're 19 games into the season, and this is his first home run after. I wonder if in his head, or if he shared with his agent, I am not going to swing until I get paid. It'll look like I'm swinging, but I ain't swinging for anything until I get paid.
Well,
funny how this works, Curtis.
Yeah, you got to get the contract all buttoned up before you start performing. Facts. Why would a guy? Either way, my clutch performer, also going to the Blue Jays, but not going to Vladdy. It's going to the pitching staff. They get 19 strikeouts and a 9-inning franchise record for the Blue Jays. So a franchise record for strikeouts. And yeah, what can I say? Go Blue Jays. We're kind of doubting them a little bit at the beginning of the season here, but they're doing good thus far.
Well, I think there's a lot of people doubting him. And with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., even if he wasn't signed and if they were going to trade him, like, you take him out of the lineup, and that's a big hole to fill. So right now, the Jays beat the Braves 3-1 today. Chris Bassett picked up his second win of the season. He pitched 5 innings, gave up just 3 hits, had 10 strikeouts, 10 of the 19. Then Jeff Hoffman, the reliever, comes in, and he did pick up his 4th save of the year, but he also gave up the 1 run to Atlanta. That's what makes me a little nervous, when your closer comes in and gives up a run. It happens. It's Major League Baseball. These guys are the best. But if you're a Jays fan, it's a little uncomfortable. Jays record now is 11-8. They're second in the AL East. And then tomorrow they're going to start a series against the Mariners at home. It's a little too early. Have either of you ever been to a Major League Baseball game?
No, unfortunately, I haven't. It's on the bucket list. And especially after the other week we're talking about, can you crush 9 dogs and 9 beer in 9 innings? Like, I got to give it a go. I got to give it the good old college try, Maz.
I went to a Colorado Rockies game. I want to say I was 11 or 12 in Coors Field, I think, right? So I don't even remember who they were playing. So it shows you how interested I was. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, a little inside baseball. My significant other works for Rogers, so could get some decent ticket prices to a Blue Jays game. So it's on the bucket list, though.
Okay. Baseball is unique, like nothing else, like any other sport. There's a lot of downtime. And I mentioned Seattle. If you've ever been to that stadium in Seattle, Seattle is a great city when the sun is shining and it's warm. But it's mostly cloudy a lot of the time, and it rains or is always damp. And the
Sounds
football
like
stadium and the baseball... Yeah, well, it pretty much is. But the football stadium and the baseball stadium are right next door to each other. So you can just hop on the train, or it's not a sub, but the train right from the airport and just get dropped out there. But it's funny, when the sun goes behind the clouds, or it's just cloudy to begin with, and that wind picks up, it's freezing cold. Baseball is great when it's warm. Same with football. But if you're cold and it's not a great game or it's taken forever, there's your clutch performer for Nick Service. If there's anybody that's coming through clutch that we haven't talked about, you can always text us on the Prairie Land Rentals text line. Still plenty of show left. We can get it in. 306-936-6262. We'd mentioned earlier it's a busy night in the Western Hockey League. We'll come back and recap that. 4 games on tap. A couple out west, a couple closer to home here. This is the Sports Cage on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM.
The Keniston Super Draft is back with the 2025 NHL Playoff Draft. Over $80,000, over 200 cash winners, and 3 ways to win. Last year's top 4 playoff scorers were Edmonton Oilers. Is it worth loading up on the oil again, or do you take one of the other powers in the West? There are a number of ways to get in on the action. 1 entry for $40, or go in with some buddies and get 7 entries for just $200. And the Super 8 add-on is back for even more playoff fun. The Keniston Super Draft, sponsored by the Keniston Lions. Deadline is Tuesday, April 22nd, 6 p.m. Central Time. Superdraft.com.
It's spring, and all you want to do is forget about winter driving and enjoy the road on a set of new tires from Quality Tire. They have tires from the brands you trust, and their experts know which tires are right for the season. It's all about quality selection, quality prices, and quality service. Trouble-free driving starts with quality service from Quality Tire. So spring in today with 9 locations across Saskatchewan.
QualityTire.ca. Rooted in tradition, leading in innovation, McDougall Auctioneers is your first choice for farm auctions. Hi, this is Riley McChesney. At McDougall Auctioneers, we understand that selling your farm equipment is more than just business. It's about peace of mind. That's why we offer a unique guarantee, a minimum value for your auction, ensuring you sell with confidence and comfort. Our promise is your security. Choose McDougall Auctioneers, where your satisfaction is not just expected, it's guaranteed. McDougallAuction.com.
Hey, we're Harvard Media. A few times a year, we love to get together with our favorite businesses and throw a good old-fashioned classic auction. Whoa! There's nothing like waiting until the last minute, battling out other bidders, and claiming your prize. We're looking for businesses to join up for our next one. All we need from you is an experience, service, or item like a gift card. In return, we'll serve you up a top-tier ad campaign. No cash needed. This is a trade deal. Check out harvardmedia.com for info. Terms and conditions apply.
If you're tired of feeling cramped in your vehicle, then this is for you. Southie Mainline has a 2024 Chrysler Grand Caravan that could be your perfect solution for as low as $153 weekly. And if you're planning to haul anything this summer, check out their incredible deal on the 2024 Ram 3500. You could save up to $11,000. Perfect for those big summer projects or family adventures. Visit SouthieMainline.ca for more. The new king of trucks in Southie, just 30 minutes north of Regina. Worth the drive every time. Guaranteed.
Don't miss a minute of Sports Cage. Podcasts are posted at sportscage.com. 620 CKRM.
The show is brought to you by Regina Motor Products. If you've got dents or dings, you can visit the RMP SGI accredited full-service collision center and body shop, Regina Motor Products. Book today. It is that time of year where you're basically gambling and rolling the dice. If you're like, hey, I should wash the car, it may stay clean for 20 minutes or 2 days or 2 weeks. I'll go probably closer to 20 minutes whenever I do it because I just don't have that kind of luck.
I actually did take the vehicle out to get washed today. It was dirty enough that it was like, yeah, it doesn't really matter that you're getting a little bit of dirt and salt on it or whatever, but it needs a wash real bad.
I'm fine, except for when the windshield, when there's so much stuff outside of the wiper blade zone where because normally you can look through there, but when that's blocked off, and then your mirrors, and then usually your rear window. So, yeah. And the other thing too is now when you're doing car wash, if it's less than 20 minutes to wait, and for an automated, is that like winning the car wash lottery? Because the other day I think I waited about 45, but I needed to. I'm pitting in, and it always seems like I know it's the exact same amount of time on average, but why is it that when there's 5 cars ahead of you, it's not that big deal, but when there's just that last one left, it's like, is this a 15-minute cycle? Why is this taking so long? Come on.
Yeah, that's always the tragic thing, especially if you're like getting gas and they have like a car wash attached, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna get a wash with like my fill up, and then you go around the corner and you're like, oh, if I knew there was like a 5-6 car line, I think I might have skipped on it. It's like, I got places to go, can't wait around for 30 minutes waiting for a car wash.
And if there is 5 cars in line, there's always that one guy with a vehicle that is already 95% clean. It's just that he loves his car so much and always wants to keep it clean. I'm like, what are you doing? Clogging up the line
always going
with your already
wash,
clean car.
Getting a little extra wax on there.
Our Sportscage Twitter poll today, the Leafs and the Senators will face off in round 1 of the playoffs. It's been 7,600 days since they've played each other in the playoffs. Who wins the Battle of Ontario? Colson, where are we at? And we got Leafs fans listening and paying attention online, or is it Senators fans?
Senators fans, by the looks of it. We're sitting at 60% Senators, 40% Leafs. Got about a half hour left in the voting, so make sure you get your vote up there.
To me, the Toronto Maple Leafs are much like the Dallas Cowboys. Social media is way better when they lose. It goes next level. The creativity that people have. There's probably been people with Leaf memes stored in a folder on their computer, they've been waiting for months, but they haven't been able to deploy and attack.
There are definitely those people out there. You said we were going to give some WHL report coming up here, right? Because I'm getting some rumors. They haven't been confirmed yet, but there's a rumor going around that the CHL, so that's the WHL, Ontario, and Quebec, will be increasing its European player limit from 2 to 3 starting in the 25-26 season.
I'm going to say I don't like it if it takes a job away from a Canadian kid.
Fair. But we've also got the NCAA rule now, so you're gonna have more players leaving potentially at the older age. So I don't know. It's interesting.
No shortage of European hockey leagues. Yeah, no, it is. No, there's no shortage of European hockey leagues, and I get it. The most talented kids should always make the roster. But if it is 2. Okay, and 3, but if you're taking the job away from a Canadian kid, because that's what our junior hockey is for. Western Hockey League, tonight there's 4 games, so anytime we talk about the Western Hockey League, it's for extreme hockey. The game closest to home, Medicine Hat Tigers taking on the Prince Albert Raiders. Tigers lead the series 2-0. It's going to be a packed house at the Art Hauser Center in PA tonight. Raiders need a win. You can't go down 3-0. To the Tigers are just too powerful. Lethbridge and Calgary will play Game 4 tonight in Lethbridge. Portland and Everett, it's Game 3 tonight in Portland. And Victoria and Spokane, that series is tied at 1 game apiece with Game 3 set to go tonight. All right, time to take a break. When we come back, we're going to check in with Farhan Lalji. We'll find out more about the Canucks, and he's so plugged in with the CFL, and with training camp being less than a month away, we'll find out what's happening behind the scenes when it comes to the 9-team league that we all love. This is the Sportscage. Thanks for checking us out on a Wednesday afternoon. If you're watching our stream at sportscage.com, subscribe and give us a like. We appreciate that. And we're on the radio at 620 CKRM.
The Keniston Super Draft is back with the 2025 NHL Playoff Draft. Over $80,000, over 200 cash winners, and 3 ways to win. What teams does a person ride this year? Or will taking a couple of snipers from each team be the strategy this time around? There are a number of ways to get in on the action. 1 entry for $40, or go in with some buddies and get 7 entries for just $200. And the Super 8 add-on is back for even more playoff fun. The Keniston Super Draft, sponsored by the Keniston Lions. Deadline is Tuesday, April 22nd, 6 p.m. Central Time. Superdraft.com.
So, since that little ding on my car last week, I don't know where to take it.
I don't even know.
That's easy. Take it to Regina Motor Products.
Who said that?
I did. Down here. I'm Terry the Tire. Regina Motor Products Chevrolet Collision Center and SGI accredited auto body repair is a full-service collision and body shop that works on all makes and models. Just submit your claim to SGI and set an appointment to get your appraisal done. Easy.
I bet you're tired after saying all that.
South at Highway 1 and 6, Albert Street. RMPChevrolet.com.
Come join an unforgettable evening at the Regina Red Sox Dinner and Auction on Saturday, April 26th at the Turvey Center. This year's special guest will be Saskatchewan Roughriders head coach Corey Mace and offensive coordinator Mark Mueller. Pre-dinner drinks will start at 6 p.m. and dinners at 7. And don't forget the live and silent auction. Tickets are available at reginaredsox.com. Get your tickets now for the Regina Red Sox Dinner and Auction Saturday, April 26th. And support Regina Red Sox baseball. Presented by Dusick & Barlow Insurance at SGI Canada. Play ball!
A rolling stone gathers no moss? What a weird saying! Does it gather moss if it's not rolling? So many questions, but what I don't question is where I get my tires. When your vehicle needs the right tires, see your local Cooper tire dealer. Your local Cooper tire dealer carries Cooper Pro Control tires. They're designed to wear evenly for crisp handling and engineered to take on water while maintaining grip. Ask your local Cooper tire dealer about Cooper Pro Control tires today. They'll keep you rolling.
You know something? It's like selling a six-pack with only 5 beers in it. Wood Country Woody here, reminding you that unlike some other places, Wood Country Garage Packages contains everything you need, right from the start, including appearance-grade lumber, all your nails and screws, and walk-in doors with cladded jambs. Building a garage? It's one and done with Wood Country.
Your home is your castle.
In McLean, Estevan, and Tisdale. Shop online. wood-country.com.
From the towers to the tractors, country's greatest hits. 620 CKRM, a Harvard media station.
Good evening. It's 5 o'clock. I'm Corey Atkinson from the SaskToday.ca newsroom with your 620 CKRM news for Echo Sound and for Qu'Appelle. Stay connected with a new cell phone from Echo Sound. Call 306-332-6711. Regina police are still searching for Jason Paul Thorne, a 48-year-old high-risk sex offender who failed to meet his release conditions. Thorne was released on March 31st and was living in a supervised home in Regina. He has a history of sexual crimes, and police believe he could target young girls. Officers say they're working quickly and safely to arrest him. The public is urged to stay alert and call police or Crime Stoppers if they know where he is. Police in Saskatoon say a man is facing charges following a series of armed robberies. Officers were called yesterday afternoon to an armed robbery at a business where a man was threatening staff with a machete and ran away before police arrived. Later in the evening, police got 2 more calls, 50 minutes apart, about a man trying to steal from 2 other businesses. Police arrested a 37-year-old man and identified him from security footage in all 3 matters. The Bank of Canada hit pause on interest rate cuts today as it grapples with what U.S. tariffs mean for the Canadian economy. The central bank says it needs more time to see how the trade dispute will evolve before offering a forecast. Desjardins economist Randall Bartlett says that with a possible recession in the cards, depending on how long the tariffs are in place, the Bank of Canada could return to cuts as early as June.
We don't think the Bank of Canada's necessarily done or even likely done at this point. We think the Bank of Canada probably still has a few more rate cuts in the chamber before it's finished this cutting cycle.
Money markets have the odds of a rate cut or hold as a toss-up at the central bank's next decision on June 4th. Toronto police have identified the person they say was behind the wheel of a green sedan at the center of a hit and run that injured 4 people at Toronto Metropolitan University. Ryan Petroff is facing a raft of charges, including assault with a weapon. Toronto Police Inspector Errol Watson says the incident happened yesterday on a pedestrian path at the school, where planters have since been placed.
It's understandable in an incident like this that people may be concerned as towards what could happen in the future. We work very strongly with TMU and their management when it comes to making the place safer on a day-to-day basis, and we will continue to work with our partners at TMU to look at strategies that we can use to advance safety at that location.
Watson says Petroff should be considered dangerous and the public shouldn't approach him. And the Royal Saskatchewan Museum is adding 2 new attractions to draw in visitors for the Easter break. The museum says the Saskatchewan North to South Saskatchewan exhibit will let visitors explore 4 eco-zones and 11 eco-regions with high-definition interactive photography and videos. The Animal Sounds interactive display will give visitors a slew of animal sounds to listen to, with a guessing game of 58 animals making various sounds. The museum says it has other Easter break programming to offer as well for youth and students. That was your 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sasktoday.ca and 620ckrm.com. Your weather is next.
Let's get out on the water. Now is the best time of year to buy a boat or pontoon at Kevin's Marine. Cast a line in a Lund fishing boat. Take the family out on a Four Winds boat. Or head out on a pontoon by Harris or Crest. Powered by Mercury Motors at the lowest prices of the year. There are manufacturer's rebates, dealer discounts, and low payment financing on a great selection of boats and pontoons. Plus Shoremaster aluminum docks and lifts. Kevin's Marine in Fort Capel. Enjoy your summer. Get out on the water. Stop by or shop online at kevinsmarine.com.
Oh, finally. There it is.
Oh, did you order pizza?
No, even better. I called Echo Sound, your SaskTel authorized dealer.
Oh, so what'd you order?
Well, they have all the top-of-the-line smartphones with all the latest features and so many great plans, man.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it is the pizza guy. Hey, guy.
Tell him to go away. We're waiting on Echo Sound.
Echo Sound, your SaskTel authorized dealer in Fort Quipel. EchoSound.ca.
We'll still take the pizza, though.
620 CKRM weather forecast is brought to you by Linex Regina. Serious protection, killer looks, 1865 McCarra Street.
-1 the low tonight, partly cloudy sky, and tomorrow only around 6. Some spotty rain showers again possible. A little better chance for more of us to see those showers, still very light and spotty in nature. But they do also run the risk for changing over to flurries through the evening hours tomorrow night as temperatures drop back pretty sharply. Even though it's not that warm, it still falls back to -7 and mostly winds down overnight. But we'll keep the chance in there for some, we'll call it negligible flurries, not necessarily insignificant nuisance type, but still not producing any real accumulation. Up to only 4 degrees on Friday, cloud and sunshine mixed, and then we recovered nicely right back to near or above average for the weekend. A sunny day on Saturday, 15, and cloudiness thickens up on Sunday, the high 16.
With your 620 CKRM weather forecast, I'm Precision Weather meteorologist Phil Spivak.
When you want the best for your truck, you want Line-X. Your truck has withstood the harshest elements Saskatchewan has thrown at it. Rocks, gravel, rain, sleet, and snow, and left with no chips, no rust. Line-X protective coating keeps your truck's bed liners, rocker panels, and bumpers looking like brand new. Don't settle for Brand X. Go with Line-X. It's serious protection. Come see why everybody loves taking their truck to Line-X Regina for their rocker panels, bumpers, and more. Line-X. Make your truck complete. 1865 McCarra Street.
They support local producers.
They cut my meat fresh.
And pack my groceries for me.
Sherwood Co-op Food Store is my community grocery store.
From honey to lentils, pizza to pasta, they offer more local products than any other grocery store.
Offer plenty of ready-made meals like roast chicken, perfect for that busy weeknight.
Delicious baked goods, warm from the oven.
And member benefits lets me share in the equity.
It's like shopping groceries that give back.
Sherwood Co-op Food Stores.
We are members.
We are owners.
We are Sherwood Co-op.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents The Sportscage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Regina Motor Products, proudly serving Saskatchewan for over 70 years. Visit rnpchevrolet.com today. Be part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The Sportscage. Streaming at sportscage.com, our YouTube channel, and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Final hour of the show for this Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for being part of it. It's Maz in for Barney. Tomorrow, Sharky will be in. Normal Thursday fixture. Always loved him. I still remember when I asked Barney, because I had met Sharky, I think, twice, and I had to ask him, like, what's Sharky's real name? And he told me, I'm like, oh, okay, it's good. I call him Sharky, but I wanted to know. Like, my real name is Chris. People call me Maz. It's part of my last name. I've just always been called that. It's a lot easier. Chris is very forgettable. Maz. Tomorrow on the show, besides Sharky, and the NASCAR report. Big race this past weekend in Bristol. kind of the bye week in NASCAR, and then they ramp up at the end of the month. So we'll dive into the NASCAR report. Also on the show tomorrow, Nick Alberga from Leafs Morning Take. He's part of LeafsNation.com. Him and former player Jay Rosehill do a show together every day at 9 o'clock our time for about an hour. You can find them on YouTube and Twitter, and they talk Leafs. And I heard part of the show today, and I think anybody associated with the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're giddy. The playoffs are right here. The optimism is as high as it's ever going to be. Mitch Marner got his 100th point last night. Austin Matthews got his 400th goal. Things are coming up. Leafs, Leafs, Leafs as we head into the playoffs. And I said, they're a goalie away from being a Stanley Cup winning team. But I don't know if the Anthony Stolarz-Joseph Woll combination is going to be it. We'll find out. So Nick will be on the show tomorrow. It's always great when you can have guests on first time. If you missed hour one, you missed a lot. Dave Thomas was on with us and Charleston Hughes. Charleston was on camera this time. Sometimes he comes on the phone. Sometimes he's on camera because sometimes his hair's not done properly or the way he'd like to. But we asked Charleston, all right, if you're the CFL commissioner, what would you do? And he had said, and it was not the answer I was expecting, but the more I thought about it, I'm like, actually, that's a really good answer. He said, you have to devise a business plan of what you're going to do with every team. And then we got into, he said, every commissioner has always, in his time in the CFL, has always talked a great game about growing the game. But does anything ever really happen? It's like politics. Couple of hot button issues. Healthcare, education. If you lead with that, they're terrible at healthcare and education, and I'm going to fix healthcare and education. Many people have promised it. Very few have. Well, I don't think anybody's ever fixed it. I don't care what political party you are. There's always stuff going on. As long as you're going to have people involved, and I don't necessarily know to throw more money at. But anyways, he kind of said the same thing. And he had talked about do things, create some events, do everything in your power to make the game as popular. And he said to try and attract young people into it. And he'd know, he's a dad. He's got kids. Like, I think the oldest is 14. How could you get somebody to, well, it would have to be on their phone, get to like or love the CFL. You're going to have to show up somewhere. Yes, TikTok would be good. We'd mentioned this a couple weeks ago. The CFL, and maybe it's already done, and I hope it is. The CFL needs an app. It's 2025. They need an app. That's how a lot of us connect with a lot of our partners, whether that be the grocery store, the movie theater, or our favorite sports team. Not having an app in 2025 is like, I don't know, could you play hockey without skates? I'm not sure. All right, it's time to go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline and bring in Farhan Lalji. It's brought to you by the Cooperators. If it's time to get financially fit, Cooperators can build a plan that works for you. Cooperators, invest in your future together. All right. All right. Are we bringing him in? Where's Farhan? We got him?
I got you. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. We got you. Let's
see. Can you hear me? I got you loud and clear.
All right. So, Farhan, although there's, the odd game here or there, but for the most part, the National Hockey League season is over. In all of your years of covering Vancouver sports, have you ever been part of or seen anything as crazy as the Canucks this year? And are you happy that it's over?
Well, look, we all love covering playoff hockey, right? So there is some disappointment there. Even if you're not a homer, you just like being at playoff hockey games, and your city has got a buzz and a vibe to it when the local hockey team is going on. I mean, just getting to the rink on a sunny day and car flags everywhere. There's some excitement to it. So I'm not going to say I'm happy, but there's elements of thankfully the drama is over for this year. I think even if the players are going through that mixed feeling, right? We talked to a few of them today, and none of them are going to say that they're happy. But I do think that in the last couple of weeks, as you get the sense that it is in fact over, then you want it to truly be over. But yeah, nobody would have expected this year in Vancouver. It's been a bizarre season. I mean, losing games is one thing, and this organization has done a lot of that in the last decade. But to go through this level of drama and these number of injuries and just all of it, it's been a bizarre season.
I know one of the players, if somebody posted a picture on social media yesterday of Brock Besser having an autographed Vancouver jersey in his vehicle. And some are thinking that he would have got his teammates to sign that because he's not going to be back. Do you think Besser is back with the Canucks once training camp rolls around?
Well, first of all, that jersey was for his mother.
Okay.
I think there's something charity related as far as that jersey is concerned. So I don't know that it was a keepsake for Brock Besser. But I don't think he'll be back, right? And it's disappointing in that this is a real difficult room, right? Like, the Canucks aren't always the best group to deal with, right? Organizationally, top down, Rick Tocchet's great, but like in terms of the way they want to communicate their message or lack thereof, right down to the players, it's not ideal in the 30 years that I've been here. Like, this current incarnation is probably the worst I've ever been around. Again, organizationally, right down. But Brock Besser is just one of those awesome guys to deal with, right? And we've had a chance to watch him grow up and go through a lot of different things, and he's always handled it with a level of grace. He's not afraid to show his emotions. He's just a good human being. And when you see what he went through, even before, right? I mean, just, the decisions that he made even earlier in his life before he got to the NHL just showed you the level of character this guy has and how well raised he is. So, you lose a guy like Bo Horvat a couple of years ago who was very much like that, and now you lose a guy like Brock Besser. And look, it's a lot more than just media. This is a good person that's good for many people to deal with at all levels, and it'll be a loss that way. But I also understand why the Canucks want to move in a different direction. The worries they have about giving Besser a huge amount of term, which somebody's ultimately going to give him, but he's not a player with a tremendous amount of foot speed, and you don't think a contract like that is necessarily going to age well, but he will have a market for his services, and it only makes sense for him on what will be his final big deal to go cash it, and I just don't think that it's going to be in Vancouver.
Well, I think for whatever team does decide to sign him, like you had talked about the person, we only know him as the hockey player. He's a guy that can probably on a decent team get you 25 goals, and 25 goals, hey, there's never enough of those guys kicking around on the roster. The Thatcher Demko situation, is there anything that's going to play out this summer? I mean, there's other goaltenders signed, the injury history, just where would it sit with Demko?
Well, I think they're mixed. I think organizationally they made a decision that they're going to move on. And I say that because when you give Kevin Lankinen the kind of contract that you gave him, and I think they bought a little high on Lankinen, but when you give him a 5-year deal at $4.5 million, that's starters money. It's not high-end starters money. It's kind of mid-level starters money. So for me, it really comes down to when are you going to move on, right? Do you make that decision in the offseason? Well, that's a tough decision to make because he's had such an injury-plagued season. When is his value the highest, right? It might make more sense for them to wait until the offseason, not the offseason, but wait until next season, and then you let him play next year on a reduced role, right? It's the final year of his deal, but you split starts between he and Lankinen. You give, Demko a chance to rebuild his game and rebuild his health, right? That, okay, you can play X number of games and you can function that way. And then, you potentially move him at the deadline, right? And generally not a lot of these guys get moved at that time of year. So that's kind of the thing for me, right? Like, when is the right time? Because they've now made a level of commitment to Lankinen. So you can't all of a sudden come back with Demko and say, okay, we're going to sign you to, 6 times 8. Like, that's just not going to work when you're paying the other guy 4.5. So I think they're going to move on. It's just a case of when.
I know we don't have you for a long time here today. With the first round of the playoffs coming up, what are a couple of series that you're looking forward to as a fan as far as first round matchups this time around?
Well, in the West, I'm really looking forward to seeing Edmonton and Los Angeles, right? I mean, this is the fourth year now, like with these groups that they've gone against each other. So there's a bit of dislike there, right? Rivalries are made in the playoffs. And, as much as the folks out here on the West Coast want to make the Canucks and Seattle a rivalry, well, you got to make the playoffs and you got to play each other in the playoffs. So Edmonton and LA certainly have that. And we know that it's been a difficult year for Edmonton with the crazy number of injuries to high-level players that they've had. But they're playing better right now. They're getting healthier right now, right? So we do expect McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman and these guys to be in the lineup. However, we don't know about Ekholm, and we don't know about Skinner, right? Coming off that concussion as to when they might be available. So, there'll probably be some at Edmonton who think it's not a huge loss if you lose Skinner, but nonetheless, you want to be in the playoffs healthy, and Ekholm was such a big part of that blue line last year. And when you look at home ice advantage, and I think we like to believe that home ice advantage doesn't matter in the playoffs, but if ever it was going to matter for a team, I think it could matter for the LA Kings. Just 5 regulation home losses all season. So they're going to be tough to play at home. They've got home ice advantage in that series. So, I don't want to say that when a team's at home that in order to win it's an upset, but I still view Edmonton as the team that got the Game 7 in the final. So if LA's going to win that game, or that series, I'm still going to view that as an upset, right? And, I want to see Dallas and Colorado, right? And does Gabriel Landeskog get back? When does he get back? You look at Dallas, and they've been so good all season, but they kind of have stumbled defensively. That game the Canucks played against Dallas, and the Canucks scored 3 goals in the final minute to win that game. Since then, the wheels have fallen off that team defensively. And I know it's easy to say that they didn't have a ton to play for, so let's see what happens. In the playoffs, they can dial it back in, and they might be able to, right? They might, but it hasn't looked good for them in the last couple of weeks. So with, the Avs getting healthier, I think that series is really, really compelling. And if you're Winnipeg, right, I mean, this has been an outstanding regular season team, but everybody looks at the Jets and say, show me what you got in the playoffs. And their reward for cruising to first place in the West is a date with the hottest team in the NHL in the St. Louis Blues. So that's going to be a pretty interesting series, too.
1 month from today, we'll be 5 days in to CFL training camps. It's going to be training camp number 1 for BC Lion head coach Buck Pierce. Will you be able to tell? Darian Durant said it the other day. You know early in camp whether you're going to have it or not this year. Do you think by day 5 of Buck's first training camp, you, who's going to be covering the team, are going to be able to tell if this is going to be a different BC Lions roster and approach for 2025?
No, I don't think so. I think you're going to have to wait until the regular season starts and see early out of the gate. They play Edmonton early. I want to see what Edmonton looks like and what BC looks like, because Edmonton's made so many positive changes. BC's just made changes, right? So, we've got to see whether they're positive or not. But, what does Nathan Oracle look like? What does that offensive line look like? The receiving core, right? Is there enough high end there? I think there's a few of those types of things that are really important. So I think that's going to take some time. I don't think we're going to know in the first couple of days of training camp. Everybody looks good in training camp. You know that, right? Everybody's undefeated. Optimism is there. I think you got to get into the real games. I'm curious to see that Victoria game at the end of the first week, but I think it'll take some time to see what the Lions are going to look like.
I'm just excited to see what Buck Pierce, first-time head coach, is going to do and how he's going to approach this, because he's been around some pretty good football teams and he's accomplished himself. He's coming back home to BC, and I like him. I think a lot of people just like him because he's a likable guy. And is he going to be the missing piece with a very talented roster that he's got to work with?
Yeah, I'm going to let you go at the end of this question, but Buck has been waiting for this opportunity, and there's a lot of people who don't believe Buck is that alpha that can get out in front of the room. I disagree. I think he's going to be able to have that. He's passionate. He's got a level of intensity, and I think he's got some good people around him. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Buck brings. But right now, what he's going to bring is some change, and I think this organization needed that.
All right. It's Farhan Lalji from TSN. Thanks for your time. Farhan is on dad duty. His son is in a track meet and about to compete, so we will let him get to that. Farhan Lalji is brought to you by the Cooperators. It's time to get financially fit. The Cooperators can build a plan that works for you. Cooperators, invest in your future together. Still to come on the show, the world of curling has gone to Nashville this week. And things are out the window and off the rails a little bit. We'll get into that. And we're going to dive a little further into these NHL playoffs because there's money on the line. And if you had to put together your roster to win yourself up to $80,000, who would be your starting lineup? We'll do that next. It's the Sports Cage. We've got the video stream happening right now. If you want to watch what we're doing, you can just get us on our YouTube channel. That's easy. Just go to sportscage.com. And we're on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM.
The 620 CKRM Country Cookouts are back. As you and the crew take a break from putting seed in the ground, we will fill you up with a delicious meal from Nikki's Cafe and Catering. We're also bringing out live entertainment and prizes for you and your hard-working crew. Keep it locked on CKRM for the dinner bell cue to call, and we could be coming out to your place. 620 CKRM's Country Cookouts for
McDougall Auctioneers, Sask Milk, Nelson Homes, Louis Dreyfus Canola Crush in Yorkton, and Nikki's Cafe and Catering.
At Harvard Media, we care about the communities we live in and would like to salute Regina's 25 grassroots winners, Troy Verboom of Sherwood Co-op and Steve Compton of YMCA Regina, for the work that both of these groups have done and continue to do. Together, the YMCA of Regina and Sherwood Co-op, united by a shared vision and community-first values, turned partnership into progress with the launch of a 19,000 square foot childcare facility, offering 170 not-for-profit licensed spaces. Together, we are building stronger communities.
Come join an unforgettable evening at the Regina Red Sox Dinner and Auction on Saturday, April 26th at the Turvey Center. This year's special guest will be Saskatchewan Roughriders head coach Corey Mace and offensive coordinator Mark Mueller. Pre-dinner drinks will start at 6 p.m. and dinners at 7. And don't forget the live and silent auction. Tickets are available at reginaredsox.com. Get your tickets now for the Regina Red Sox Dinner and Auction Saturday, April 26th. And support Regina Red Sox baseball. Presented by Dusick & Barlow Insurance at SGI Canada. Play ball!
Sask Lotteries has 50 years of winning behind us. And you know what that means? Lots of winning numbers. Numbers like over 1,200 organizations funded and 12,000 plus groups supported. $6 million given away annually in community grants. And the winningest number of all? $1.4 billion given back to the people of Saskatchewan through sport, culture, and recreation. And we're just getting started. Help us grow the next 50. Learn more at sasklotteries.ca.
SaskToday.ca is your local news source, proudly serving communities all across Saskatchewan. Sask Today's team of local journalists are on the ground focusing on local topics that matter to you. From agriculture, local community news, sports, and more. Find it all at sasktoday.ca. Sign up for our daily news digest at sasktoday.ca. From Harvard Media, everywhere.
Get it hot, get it fast. Western Pizza.
Dinner served.
What's this?
Pizza.
Looks like cardboard.
It is. Cut into a circle.
What?
Hope you're hungry.
You wouldn't order cardboard for dinner, and that's not what you get when you order from Western Pizza.
Think I'll order Western Pizza.
They've got their pizza down to perfection. Western Pizza. Big on toppings, big on taste. Dine in or takeout. Order today.
And get it hot, get it fast. Western Pizza.
Keep your equipment out of the rain and mud this spring by storing it in a new building from Olympic Buildings. A new building on your property can serve as a shop for equipment or hay storage, a riding arena, and so much more. Olympic Buildings in Regina can store it all. Visit olympic-buildings.ca.
Welcome back to Sports Cage. Connect with the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262.
The show on Wednesdays is brought to you by Regina Motor Products. Dents or dings, visit the RMP SGI accredited full-service collision center and body shop, Regina Motor Products. Book today. It's Maz in for Barney, along with the double C's, Colson and Curtis. Still to come before the top of the hour, Dave Thomas will talk to Alana Serhan. She's the head coach of the Saskatoon Stars. They're going to be off to the Esso Cup in Lloydminster this weekend, trying to do the province proud. The Esso Cup is the National Under-18 AAA Female Hockey Championship. Curtis, Colson, it's funny. Curling has been around for a long time, but I don't know until yesterday when I was on Twitter I had ever seen anybody do a trick shot. like with a rock, and I'm like, this is nuts. Okay, so this is Rachel Holman. If you're watching the stream, she's coming out of the hack, and she basically slides the rock through her legs out the other side and takes a shot. So the Grand Slam of Curling Tour is in Nashville this week. And it's been a little nutty. Is there audio of them? So they're riding mechanical bulls. Do we have this? They're riding mechanical bulls?
I was going to talk about the trick shot. Give me a sec.
Okay, trick shot first.
Okay, I was actually talking with Colson about this before the show, and I was just laughing. Like, curling trick shot? Like, if you're watching on the stream, you even kind of saw it. It's like, ooh, Rachel Holman gets kind of fancy, pits it between the legs, but then she kind of just like focuses up and just continues doing her shot. Like, it's hilarious to watch. And just the concept of it in general is so wild.
I mean, we're all used to, in basketball, the Harlem Globetrotters taking like basketball to like new limits and extremes with all the crazy trickery that they would do throughout the game when they'd beat the Washington Generals, and all the tricks. But curling is not a sport I thought you would ever have some Harlem Globetrotter-ish type stuff happening. But Rachel Holman did the first ever trick shot. Maybe they do it all the time and we've just never seen it.
To me, a curling trick shot is on par with doing like a chess trick move, just like, ooh, look, he like flicked his piece, made it do like a flip and landed right on E4.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. I can agree with you on that one, because it's more impressive. It's like, oh, I didn't see him making that move. Like, they took my queen and I didn't see that coming at all. Like, that's the same way with curling, where you're like, dang, that was a really good shot. You took out 3 of their stones in one shot. That's a really good shot. Trick shots, They're funny, but it's not the same as the Harlem Globetrotters.
It's no half quarter, that's for sure, or full quarter, or whatever you want it. Yeah.
Can we get a consensus? Can we get a consensus here that Brad Jacobs and Rachel Holman could be representing our country at the Olympics? So should they tone down the riding of the mechanical bulls so they don't end up breaking limbs? All right, there's part of her team. The mechanical bull always wins. You guys are way too young, but remember when the Texas Moon had a mechanical bull? Like, those are the best curlers in our country, and they're all getting flung off into the mats.
Here, I'll do you one better. What is the Texas Moon?
It was a bar in
Explain the
Regina.
Texas Moon to me. Yeah,
it was a bar in Regina, and it was crazy. It had a mechanical bull, and it had this automated drink machine. Like, they would just press a button, and it would like serve
like a
the beer
machine?
or make like a rum and coke. Almost. It was robotics before its time.
Huh.
I think that we call that steam power.
Train guy coming in with the train comment.
Just chess and train references. So they're in Nashville. And did you say George Kittle of the San Francisco 49ers, they got him on the ice and let him throw some rocks? It's always funny when a non-curler tries curling. So here he is, and he's got a guard.
He's in the hack.
So he doesn't fall. He's in the hack, so he doesn't fall over. Here he is. And it looks like they're curling outside a bar. They built ice outside of a bar.
Yeah, and
he's got good weight.
It's actually a pretty good shot. If you're watching the stream, like, he didn't fall over by any means shooting it, and it was on target. Knocked out of the rock out. Point on the board. Look at George Kittle go. Maybe he should hang up the old cleats and take up curling instead of playing for the 49ers. What a hack of a team.
I'm going to say that the NFL probably pays better than curling. So it's pretty funny, this Grand Slam of curling in Nashville, because this is like kind of foreign territory for curling. So I'm looking at the itinerary. There was the Celebrity Pro-Am. There's the VIP fan buffet, the VIP welcome reception. This is all at a bar. So there's a lot of drinks involved. Today, there's another VIP fan buffet. There's a skills competition. And tonight, it's the All-Star Skins game, men and women, including Team Holman. So yeehaw, as curling goes to Nashville. It's kind of neat to see them have a little bit of fun and smile, because when we see them try to do their thing, it's serious business. And if they win, you get to see them. Oh, there's Brad Jacobs pretending to be Brad Gushu. That's funny. That's great. So you're getting to see the personalities come out.
Yeah, it's
and usually
it's a cool experience to kind of see when professional athletes are in the zone and they're competing. Like, it's very serious, but when you kind of do stuff that's a little not high stakes, like charity events and stuff, it's cool to see them play when they're relaxed and there's zero pressure and they're just doing their thing and hanging out, having a good time.
Well, the best part of this Grand Slam of curling stuff is they're getting paid just to be there. So, I mean, the curling's a bonus if they do better. So, all right. Oh, hey, Kennison Super Draft is back for the Stanley Cup playoffs. If you haven't been on their website yet, do you know that the Kennison Super Draft started back in 1984? There it is. That's how it used to be done. Curtis is holding up the paper that we used to have to fill out, because back in the day, there was no filling out brackets online on your smartphone. We get it. It's a piece of paper. We get it.
You're welcome.
And there are people that have been loyal to this thing since 84, going strong, 41 years, filling out the bracket. I would love to know, of all the people that have played, who's on a 41-year losing streak? That, like, you've never ever come through with a winning lineup. Like, it's just been a dud decade after decade after decade.
If you're on a 41-year losing streak, that just means you're due. You're due for a win this year.
You're incredibly due for a win.
Yeah, keep on doing the draft.
The last time I was involved in a hockey draft where I won anything, I was living in Swift Current, working at the radio station there. And the head coach of the Broncos at the time was Todd McClellan. Like NHL Todd McClellan. Sasky guy, coach of the Detroit Red Wings. So it was the hockey team and a few other people. And I remember I was in, and I don't know how, but Pavel Demitra, God rest his soul, who's since passed on, was, I think, playing for the Blues, and he had an incredible season or an incredible postseason. Well, anyway, I ended up winning. I'm pretty sure they were property of the hockey team. A couple of Easton aluminum sticks and blades. That was one of the prizes. But then I'm like, well, that was probably easy. Like, where was the cash? But I still remember that it was Pavel Demitra, and I won some Easton aluminum hockey sticks because of that. There was like 10 people in it. And at the time, I'm like, I don't know. Like, you know that there's guys that will show up. They'll have a special hat on. They'll have their laptop. They'll have a paper folder with stats and mock lineups and things like that, because that's how serious they take it. Well, I was the opposite of that, because then the next year when I thought I'm really going to try, not a sniff. I probably came in last.
Hey,
I don't know what the formula is.
Congrats, Maz. Do you still shoot with him? You ever take him out to the ODR and go shoot some pucks or what?
I have no idea where those sticks would have went. But now they'd be collector's items, because that was back in the era of, well, the aluminum shaft was one thing and the blade was another.
Well,
so
to be a collector's item, you got to collect it, and you can't just lose it. I don't know where they are. Oh, it would have been a collector's item, but I lost them. Where did I collect them?
In my radio career, I have moved 10 times. I'm not sure how many times you've moved so far in your life, but when you move 10 times, sooner or later you learn to be a little more efficient and you learn to let some stuff go.
Fair enough.
And
no
then,
collecting dust for the collector items.
And then usually the person that likes to live lean and mean will end up meeting and marrying somebody that likes to keep everything forever and throw nothing out. And then, well, I'll use your term from earlier in the week, it's the perfect yin and yang.
Nice, a throwback. By the way, the All-Star for the Grand Slam of Curling there, they had it at the T-Line Nashville, which is a bar pub that is built specifically for curling. So they didn't just lay this ice for this. This is the entire shtick of the bar. They also have a bowling alley, but it's primarily curling. So props to them. If you're ever in Nashville, just off I-40, there you go.
How has somebody in Nashville beat us in Canada to this?
I think we just call them curling rinks.
Sure, but if the way that they do it, it's open to the stands. There's not that dividing wall, and maybe that's a liquor law situation and probably a freezing cold situation. I don't know if you're going to sit there when it's that cold, but it is a pretty neat setup.
Yeah, in all the pictures I'm seeing, there is still that dividing wall between like the bar area. Obviously, just because temperature difference and stuff. But yeah, it's a 3 or 4 sheets, and then a bar area and 4 lanes of bowling. So
it looks to me like a little like the Top Golf concept, but instead of the driving range and where you hit out to, that's where the sheets of ice are. So you can be with your group, drinks, food, entertaining, and then curling rink right there.
I want to circle back here. We were talking collector items for a minute. So you've been in the radio industry for, you said, moved 10 different places and been around for a while. And you've thrown out a lot of those collector items. Is there anything that you've held on to? And if so, what's your favorite thing that you have as a collector item, Maz?
Let's see. What would you think? I think I still have, this is going back a ways, because everything we used to do, because the world was different, was on a cassette tape. Like if we were, you wanted to listen to what you did, it would all be on a cassette tape. I still have a bunch of those cassette tapes hanging around. That's probably one of the last things, but don't have a cassette player anymore. So now it's kind of like, all right. And you can't really walk into a Best Buy and walk up to somebody younger than you to say, hey, is there any way I could track down a cassette player? Like a dual high-speed dubbing, like Techniques cassette deck? No?
Yeah, you might get
out of here.
Okay, Grandpa, let's get you back to the seniors' home.
I still remember going into Future Shop once and asking a dumb question, and the young sales associate said, dude, the name is Future Shop, not Old Days Shop. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm gonna go.
Well, my first car had a cassette player, so not that far off. It just,
and there are a lot of people that still would have cassette decks and all that, but yeah, I still got tapes of that. But that's probably one of the few things that you've kept, because once you have kids,
my parents
everything's
still
about
have
space.
A huge storage room of VCR film, just like all the way up, and like probably like 200, 300 things of VCR still. They don't even have a VCR player anymore, but they still have all the film and stuff. Why? Who knows? But they do.
And that's the beauty of, there are some things that are just classic that it's hard to part with. All right, time to take another break here on the Sports Cage. It is brought to you by Regina Motor Products on this Wednesday afternoon. If you want to be part of the show, 306-936-6262, Prairie Land Rentals text line. When we come back, Western Hockey League, 4 playoff games tonight. And there are some teams that could be taking a stranglehold, and they could be short series over by Easter Sunday in some scenarios. We'll dive into that next. It's the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM.
What's going on in the markets? When is the right time to invest? What should you do with your money today? When Lindsay had questions, she talked to Brian Golly.
We looked at all the different investments we had out there. He helped us pull it all together and determine what would work best for our lifestyle.
You don't have to plan your financial future alone.
He's trustworthy and he's very easy to work with.
Call Brian Golly of Smart Investing Solutions. 306-546-2533.
Mountie up. Steel Panther and Buck Cherry present the Northern Exposure Tour. She's got the eyes on April 29th, 7:30 p.m. Connexus Arts Center. Hey, y'all crazy bitch, but Steel Panther and Buck Cherry. On sale now at ConnexusArtCenter.ca. Don't miss Steel Panther and Buck Cherry together live. See you at the center.
At McDougall Auctioneers, we're not just selling heavy equipment.
we're powering progress. Hi, this is Riley McChesney. Our online auctions bring together the best machinery and the biggest network of buyers. Whether it's construction marvels or industrial giants, we sell with expertise and a commitment to value. Choose McDougall Auctioneers for auctions that move as fast as your business does. McDougall Auctioneers, 1-800-263-4193, or visit us at mcdougallauction.com.
The federal election is on Monday, April 28th. You can vote early. Advance polls will be open April 18th to 21st. If you prefer, you can vote at any Elections Canada office until Tuesday, April 22nd, 6 p.m., or you can apply to vote by mail. Check your voter information card or visit elections.ca for all the ways you can vote.
For the official information you need to vote, visit elections.ca or call 1-800-463-6868. It's our vote.
Get it hot, get it fast, Western Pizza.
Some say the number 13 is bad luck, like walking under a ladder. Well, 13 is a very lucky number when you're talking Western Pizza, like their delicious 13-inch pepperoni from Western Pizza. That makes it, well, the luckiest number of all. Western Pizza, big on toppings, big on taste. Dine in or take out. Order today.
And get it hot, get it fast, Western Pizza.
So, since that little ding on my car last week, I don't know where to take it. I don't even know.
That's easy. Take it to Regina Motor Products.
Who said that?
I did. Down here. I'm Terry the Tire. Regina Motor Products Chevrolet Collision Center and SGI accredited auto body repair is a full-service collision and body shop that works on all makes and models. Just submit your claim to SGI and set an appointment to get your appraisal done. Easy.
I bet you're tired after saying all that.
South at Highway 1 and 6, Albert Street. RMPChevrolet.com.
Hip hop hooray! Easter is on its way. Come meet the Easter Bunny at Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's and get a free 4x6 printed photo. Book your spot in the express line at cabela's.ca/Easter.
Text CKRM 306-936-6262. Powered by Prairie Land Rentals. They've got everything you need for your projects. 600 Albert Street. PrairieLandRental.com. Welcome back to Sportscage. Get social with us. Follow us on X at Sportscage. Watch our video stream at sportscage.com and always on the radio at 620 CKRM.
The Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League final will start Saturday in Melfort. Weyburn Red Wings, Melfort Mustangs, Game 1. Game 2 is Sunday in Melfort as well. Face-offs there, both nights at 7:30. Games 3 and 4 will be in Weyburn on Wednesday and Thursday with 7 o'clock face-offs. Busy night in the Western Hockey League. 4 games. Victoria and Spokane, that series is tied at 1. Portland and Everett. Everett leading the Winterhawks 2-1. Down in Lethbridge, the Hurricanes taking on the Hitmen. Hurricanes leading that series 2-1. And tonight in Prince Albert, you've got the Medicine Hat Tigers taking on the Raiders. They're up 2-0. We'll have a full rundown tomorrow. It's Maz here. Sharky will be in, along with Colson and Curtis, the Double C's. Nick Alberga and Arash Madani will be part of the show. If you've missed anything today, you can always catch the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast, or they're all neat and tidy. It's stored in one little spot right on the right-hand side of sportscage.com. All right, before we go, Alana Serhan is the head coach of the Saskatoon Stars. She's she'll be leading the charge at the SO Cup National Under-18 AAA Female Hockey Championships in Lloydminster. And Dave Thomas had a chance to catch up with her earlier today. Here's Dave.
We are pleased to be joined by the head coach of the Saskatoon Stars, Alana Serhan. Boy, a lot of excitement right now around the Bridge City. Are you ready to go to the SO Cup?
Yeah, I think, it's actually something that we've talked about since day one. And so, to finally be heading down the highway to Lloydminster, it really does, seem like a dream come true or a plan laid out, and now we're going.
As I look at your season from a distance, one word that jumps off the page, especially in the series with Eastman and the Battlefords in the final, is perseverance. Your team just seems to love the pressure-packed moments.
Yeah, something that we've talked about with the girls is that pressure is a privilege, and that, by allowing ourselves and getting ourselves to those tough games, those tough moments, elimination games, we've always found a way to dig in, and I think it just speaks volumes to the want, the will, and the determination that our group has to win hockey games.
So when you look at your group, what would you say is the identity of the Saskatoon Stars?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say, our identity is, we've definitely had hard moments throughout the season, hard, regular season losses, overtime losses, or overtime games. But I would say that the will to want to win is so strong that we are prepared and willing to do whatever it takes to win. And I think that typically shows up for us as, highly explosive offense.
You've had a pretty good break since that Western Regional against Eastman. What have you been doing over the break, and has that been a blessing or a curse?
Well, it's tough to say. I mean, for us, we definitely need a good rest here. Team practice yesterday marked our 81st practice of the season together as a team. So we've seen the ice a lot. And so I think, just a little bit of a break from gameplay to just kind of sharpen up skills. At this point in the year, we're not blowing anything up, as far as systems-wise. We're putting in reps and just trying to stay sharp. So more than likely a good rest for us.
You've got some excellent opponents that you're going to come up against in Lloydminster. What do you know about those teams, and how have you been preparing for them?
Yeah, for us, we're always trying to be mindful of what the opposition is throwing at us, whether they're, a 1-3-1 power play or they're killing in a diamond, penalty kill. But a lot of the times, that's really just an underlay of what we're trying to accomplish. We always want to be the team, to go out and set the pace, right? We are going to set the tone. We are going to set the pace of how the game's going to go, and we want to make other teams adapt to us. So we've only played one out of the 6 teams that will be there, and that was the Junior Oilers, and that was actually our first game as a team this season in exhibition play. So that was a long time ago. We're a different team than we were then, and so are they. So it really is a fresh start, fresh look at all these opponents.
What needs to go right for your team to have success in this tournament?
That's a great question. I think, for us, the PK did a really good job down the stretch here. So that PK has got to be sharp. Comes down to just blocking shots. And, inversely, our special teams on the power play, depending on how, when we get there, what kind of special teams battles we're in, those special teams will need to be tight. But one metric that we keep very, very close watch on is our shots on goal. We need to get 40 shots on goal every single game to give ourselves a good chance to win. Goalies in this league, teams in this league, the way they defend and keep, teams to the outside and the goaltending that is just so great at this level, we know that 40 shots on goal is our number, and we stick very, very closely to putting as many pucks on the net as we can.
The life of an under-18 athlete is something else when it comes to not only participating, being on the ice, performing on the ice. There's schoolwork, there's commitments to programs beyond hockey. How have you been able to channel everybody and keep them on the same page?
Yeah, again, I think, the girls have done a lot of that themselves. They put the work boots on and coming to practice and approaching practice with a business-like mindset. Don't get me wrong, we like to have fun in practice, but when we're in a rep, when we're in the moment, we have some players in practice who elevate the level of practice. And I think just being mindful of how much time we're spending together at the rink is important too, to make sure we have a good balance, making sure we're mixing in a rest day and everyone stays away from the rink. And it's a time for, friends outside of hockey. It's a time for homework. It's a time for family. So, down the stretch here, it's been a lot about balancing hockey and just being a kid. And so that's been important too.
Not a lot of time to rest during this tournament in the compressed format that you'll be facing. How do you manage, I guess, is that the right term, that you're managing the workload for your team?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a tournament where you're going to play, 7 games in 7 days. And so I'm a firm believer in playing our lineup, as much as we possibly can, having every player have a role. And I think that, that is what propelled us through the postseason into Westerns. And it will be no different when we're off to SO Cup here, playing our full depth of our lineup to ensure that we can have players and roles to be able to eat minutes and have all the opportunity to have rest throughout these 7 days.
A wise person once told me that when you look at a championship team, you really don't need to look much further than the leadership in the group for setting the tone. Tell me about the leaders on the Saskatoon Stars.
Oh, I mean, we have an incredible group. Our veteran group or our graduating girls are all in. They want to win. Some of them have gone through this process before or through the postseason process before and haven't really come up with the result that they wanted. And I think that drive fires them. It fires them up in those tough moments. I think that, our leadership in, our younger leadership group player, Hallie Duchesne, she's a perform under pressure player. And then, we have leadership coming from, even our first years, our incoming players. I think, the on-ice leadership and the off-ice leadership, we have different people coming from every corner of the dressing room, which, like I said, it kind of just gives us that edge on making sure that everyone is showcasing that they are making a difference and making an impact. But, I mean, it does really come from the start of our captain, Maggie Freeman, who's elevated her game in this postseason, right to our assistant captain, Claire Mormon. Steady defense has been for us all season. We got Colby Ash on the wing, high-octane player, likes to play physical. She can put pucks in the net. And as I mentioned before there, Hallie Duchesne, who is, a wizard with the puck on her stick all games that we've played all season and just has a knack for the net and a hunger on the puck. So our leadership group is very, very strong with experience, with on-ice performance. And then, the things that are happening off-ice as well obviously speak to the success that we've been having.
Alana, obviously your coaching resume speaks for itself, but what have you been taking away from this run by your team, and what do you hope to gain from this national tournament experience?
Yeah, I think, for me as a coach, it was a big year, coming in and not having, selected these players or built this team. But, wow, did I come into a team that, previous coaches ahead of me had done an incredible job recruiting, had done an incredible job securing top-level talent in this province, and I am grateful for the opportunity to carry this group through to a national championship, and definitely, having had experience coaching, at the provincial level at a national championship, having been fortunate enough to play at a national championship myself during my university career, I do think that all of those experiences bode very, very well. And often I say sometimes you don't know what it takes to win until you win. And I feel like, our entire coaching staff and myself included, we do know what it takes to win. And I think, sharing some of those as experiences in little pieces and tidbits to our group is really important for our preparation, game by game, shift by shift.
We are very Saskatchewan proud in this province. You mentioned the national championship, so on and so forth. Do you tell many people that you went to the University of Manitoba, or is that... No, I'm just kidding.
I try and leave it off, but usually I always get one or two questions. Everyone thinks that I'm from Manitoba. I'm not, and that's usually how I lead my conversation.
Well played. Well, we wish you all the best in Lloydminster. I know it's going to be a heck of an experience, and hopefully it's one that ends with a gold medal around your neck.
Yeah, you know what? No matter what happens, this group is battled all season long. I have no doubt that we're going to go there and we're going to show everyone why we deserve to be there. And, at the end of the day, getting there is what we wanted. And now it's our responsibility to be able to cap it off and close out this season, the way that we want.
The Keniston Super Draft is back with the 2025 NHL Playoff Draft. Over $80,000, over 200 cash winners, and 3 ways to win. With more Canadian teams than we've seen in the postseason in a while, will you be elbows up and riding one of those teams? There are a number of ways to get in on the action. 1 entry for $40, or go in with some buddies and get 7 entries for just $200. And the Super 8 add-on is back for even more playoff fun. The Keniston Super Draft, sponsored by the Keniston Lions. Deadline is Tuesday, April 22nd, 6 p.m. Central Time. Superdraft.com.
Spring means